I start by building Chase. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376. He was beaten into an idiot. This time, they were going to scare the Wasan people to the point of fear from the bottom of their hearts. The captains of each ship said in unison, yes. Then, the fleet of the Wangxi Empire was dispatched. They covered the sky and sun, descended from the sky, and appeared above the city. The appearance of nearly 100 spaceships in the sky caused countless Wasan people below to look up, and the more they looked, the more frightened they became. What is that? Is it something that can fly? Oh my god, it's so big, it must be a new weapon of our great Wasan Empire. Just as countless Wasan people in the city below are pointing and talking, the Wangxi Empire's third combined fleet launched a massacre-like attack. Without any signs, tractor beams were fired one after another, and the next seconds the energy attack arrived as expected. Chirp 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 one after another, the laser cannons caused unparalleled damage. As the muzzle turned, the lasers also slid on the ground, causing the explosions to rise and fall. Boom boom. In just the first few seconds, the city of the Wasan Empire suffered a lot of damage. Everyone run, the huge ship floating in the sky is the enemy of the great Wasan Empire. The Wasan people in the city immediately fled like frightened birds. However, no matter how fast they ran, they could not be as fast as the attack of the third combined fleet. The attack was like a silent horn, playing the call of the god of death, and a large number of Wasan people were constantly killed. Here another thick turbo laser cannon was fired, and immediately created a large no-man's land in the city that was destroyed. Below, the buildings and the Wasan people were just lambs to be slaughtered. In less than a few minutes, the first city of the Wasan Empire was destroyed. Among the ruins, there were inevitably some Wasan people who survived by chance. They walked out of the ruins, and their hearts immediately sank. A glance at the once prosperous and noisy city has now become a silent and dilapidated ruin. Countless Wasan people knelt on the ground and shouted miserably, "Our home is gone." And here, the Empire's third combined fleet has arrived at the second city of the Wasan Empire. Because the third combined fleet appeared too suddenly before, there was no counterattack in the first city, but this city was different. The warriors of the Wasan Empire began to attack the giant ships sailing in the sky. Dense anti-aircraft machine guns formed a rain of bullets and spewed flames of the third combined fleet. The great Wasan Empire was fully confident that it would use the advantage of weapons to shoot the spaceships in the sky into cities, and was even more confident that it would beat the opponent into a fool. So there were a terrifying number of anti-aircraft machine guns here. The dense barrage created a huge momentum, but the familiar dear sounded again. Even so, the warriors of the Wasan Empire still bravely launched the attack. Warriors of the great Wasan Empire, shoot for me, give it. Shoot, shoot, shoot down those spaceships in the sky, let them know the power of our great Wasan Empire. It's time to be loyal to His Majesty the Emperor. The Wasan warriors below roared madly, as if the louder the roar, the more likely they would shoot down the spaceships in the sky. The third joint supervisor also began to fight back. The initial counterattack was extremely powerful, sweeping across the entire city, including the Wasan warriors below. Boom boom, the sound of explosions rose and fell. The Wasan warriors wished that these sounds came from the sky, but the reality is often cruel. Every time an explosion sounded, countless Wasan people and a large number of buildings would be taken away. 5 minutes later, the second city of the Wasan Empire became a ruin. What relying on the local anti-aircraft machine guns to beat the floating spacecraft into a fool, in addition to the various fierce shouting, they were beaten into a fool by the opponent at the beginning. The third joint fleet began to fly towards the third city of the Wasan Empire, with a completely horizontal trend. No one and no weapon could stop the dimensionality reduction attack from the advanced civilization. At this moment, the headquarters of the Wasan Empire also received some bad news one after another. The entire Hiroshima was destroyed into ruins in an instant by a group of giant ships floating in the sky. It is suspected that it is the fleet of the Wangxi Empire that we declared war on. A certain staff officer held the phone in disbelief and questioned, "What nonsense are you talking about? I don't believe it in any way, it's absolutely false. As we all know, the fleet of the Wangxi Empire is still near Mingzhou City in Xia country. Even if they want to come to the mainland, it is absolutely impossible for them to reach the mainland of the Great Wasan Empire in such a short time. The staff officer hung up the phone, dialed another number, and asked, "Please connect me to Marshal Hiroshima Hatushan. A voice came from the phone. "Hiroshima cannot be connected." Now, the senior officials in the headquarters of the Wasan Empire stood in place and suddenly had a bad premonition in their hearts. It was most likely the work of the fleet of the Wangxian Empire. Although it is unclear why the fleet of the Wangxian Empire is so fast, the Great Wasan Empire has just issued a statement asking them to apologize, but they came here in less than half an hour. However, Hiroshima has the most advanced air defense weapons in the mainland, and it is right to beat the opponent into a sieve. Later, the headquarters immediately sent out nearby city reconnaissance aircraft. After a reconnaissance report, the headquarters of the Wasan Empire was completely stupid. It was indeed the fleet of the Wangxian Empire that had arrived. Hiroshima's advanced anti-aircraft weapons not only had no effect, but the entire city was turned into ruins. Moreover, during this period of reconnaissance, more than 10 cities had become ruins, a large number of civilians had died tragically, and only a few buildings remained intact. Suddenly, the high-ranking officials of the Wasan Empire were all panicked. This was not what they had expected before. Shouldn't they rely on advanced weapons and sufficient firepower to smash the opponent's giant spacecraft into a sieve? But why was it so hard to accept? Before, they were still fantasizing that the Great Wasan Empire had sufficient ability to defeat the fleet of the Wangxi Empire, so they issued a statement demanding that the other party must pay the price for their blind behavior. But immediately afterwards, the fleet of the Wangxi Empire rushed directly to the mainland of the Wasan Empire, and pushed all the way. More than 10 cities along the way had become ruins, a large number of civilians had died tragically, and a large number of buildings were destroyed. When the Wasan Emperor heard some bad news, he immediately hurried to the base camp. When entering the meeting room of the headquarters, a senior official said sadly, "Except for a few buildings in Hiroshima, nothing has been razed to the ground. In addition, our Wasan Empire has lost contact with 10 cities. After reconnaissance, all of them have become ruins. Those spaceships floating in the air have been pushing forward all the way, invincible." As soon as the report came out, the situation suddenly reversed. At present, if they did not surrender, according to the current trend, the other party could completely turn all the cities of the Wasan Empire into ruins within 2 days with advanced weapons. For a time, the Wasan Empire faced two choices: surrender and fight to the end. The Wasan Emperor looked very bad. It seemed that he had miscalculated. But even so, he still did not agree to apologize to the fleet in the air, let alone surrender. How could the dignified Wasan Empire surrender? Absolutely impossible. Soon, an emergency meeting was held. A senior official said righteously, "We firmly oppose surrender. We will fight to the end and fight to the last soldier, and we must persist to the end even if we have to eat grass roots and swallow mud." Chapter 377. This bastard is not planning to surrender. Not long after declaring war, they issued a statement to the whole world demanding compensation from the fleet of the Wangxi Empire, but less than a day after the statement, they announced their surrender. How could such a shameful thing be done? The Wasan Empire must not lose face. Other high-level officials also thought of this, so they stood up and showed their determination to fight the enemy to the end. "We will not accept surrender, we will never accept surrender. If we surrender, our great Wasan Empire will never be able to raise our heads. I don't believe it. Their giant spaceships will always float in the sky. One day their energy will be exhausted, and what we have to do is to exchange land for time. The warriors of the Great Wasan Empire have the spirit of Bushido and are not afraid of any challenge." At the meeting, everyone was indignant and determined not to surrender. This was derived from the dignity of the Great Wasan Empire, and also their madness. They all agreed that the tactic of using land to delay time was correct. No equipment can operate for a long time after losing supply. So they planned to delay until those spaceships needed to replenish energy, then the Great Wasan Empire would win. Emperor Wasan said, "Everyone, our Great Wasan Empire is about to win. Although our weapons have no harm to those airships, as long as we survive this most difficult period, the final victory will definitely belong to us." Everyone shouted, "Long live His Majesty the Emperor, long live the Great Wasan Empire." The confidence of being a Wasan person is back. The current disadvantage is nothing. As long as we survive this period, those airships floating in the air will definitely need supplies, and that will be the time for the Great Wasan Empire to turn defeat into victory. At the time, all kinds of harsh treaties can't be casually proposed by the Great Wasan Empire. They must offer all their women and a lot of technology to calm the anger of the Great Wasan Empire. And here, in the Third Joint Fleet of the Wangxian Empire. Everyone also held a meeting. It was originally thought that the fleet destroyed more than a dozen cities of the Wasan people in less than an hour, which should make the Wasan people feel desperate. However, in fact, both Jiang Minjiwan and Lin Chen obviously underestimated the Wasan people and underestimated the stubbornness of the Wasan people. At the meeting, Jiang Minjiwan said, "We have destroyed more than a dozen cities of the Wasan people in succession, but the Wasan people still have no reaction. It seems that they are determined to go all the way. I suggest that we destroy the Wasan Empire at a faster speed and make them feel the most profound fear." How can the Wasan people feel fear? First of all, the atomic bomb is excluded. Once that thing is released, the Wasan people will be afraid before they feel it. How can this method of directly killing the Wasan people work? Therefore, from the current point of view, in addition to excluding large-scale lethal weapons, it is more straightforward to wantonly destroy the Wasan people's cities. Lin Chen said, "Okay, captains, since the Wasan people still have not made any statement, let me say that the fleet will not act collectively, but will be divided into 3 directions to destroy the routes, and finally converge in the Wasan people's Kyoto." Later, the Third Combined Fleet dispersed and began to wantonly destroy the Wasan people's cities from 3 directions. This speed is obviously much faster. According to the calculations of the Queen of Red, at this speed, all the cities of the Wasan Empire will be reduced to ruins on the same day, and the Wasan people will be displaced. On the same day, the cities of the Wasan Empire have been hit by the dimensionality reduction from the advanced civilization one after another. No city can hold out for 5 minutes, and they are directly turned into ruins by the powerful attack. What's more terrible is that the speed and direction of destroying the city is like 3 sharp swords piercing the capital of the Wasan Empire. One city after another lost contact. As time went on, the Third Combined Fleet of the Wangxian Empire had surrounded the capital of the Wasan Empire from 3 directions. At this time, in the base camp in Kyoto, the high-level officials of the Wasan Empire were panicking, because now it was self-evident what it meant if each city lost contact. Many high-level officials of the Wasan Empire gathered thick clouds and despair. They were absolutely proud of being the people of Wasan, because the Wasan Empire had the power to conquer the whole world, but everything came too suddenly. In less than a day, except for Kyoto, the rest of the cities in the Wasan Empire had become ruins. According to preliminary statistics, about 65% of the dead civilians died in the disaster that never stopped today. At this moment, the disaster is about to fall on Kyoto. A certain senior official said with a sad face, "What happened? It's too tragic. The enemy is too powerful." In just one day, almost all cities were destroyed one after another. Only a few villages survived. Currently, the only city left is Kyoto. Everyone was silent. In less than a day, the Great Wasan Empire was almost crippled. Now the army is at the gates of the city, ready to destroy the last city at any time. They obviously underestimated the strength of the enemy, otherwise surrendering at the beginning might be a good choice. A certain senior official said with tears in his eyes, "We should spare no effort to seek peace." Another warlike and stubborn senior official immediately retorted, "We can consume the enemy in the Great Wasan Empire until the enemy's energy is exhausted, and then fight a decisive battle. Can you stop the enemy from continuing to destroy cities? Can you stop the enemy from killing our civilians? In order to win, what can you show us?" After saying this, many senior officials agreed. "Still fighting? Aren't you afraid that the Great Wasan Empire will be exterminated?" "That's right. If we had chosen to surrender at the beginning, we wouldn't have suffered such a huge loss. If we don't surrender, the Great Wasan Empire may no longer exist." Many people at the meeting immediately adhered to the principle of surrender. At this moment, the Bushido spirit and loyalty to His Majesty the Emperor were just bluffs. When the sharp blade was hanging on their necks, many people were scared. The high-ranking officials of the militant faction roared, "It is still possible to turn the tide of the war and turn defeat into victory." The warriors of the Great Wasan Empire refused to lay down their weapons. "No matter what the situation is, we have no choice but to fight for victory." When a group of people were arguing, an untimely voice sounded, "The Emperor has arrived." The high-ranking officials of the Wasan Empire immediately stood up to greet the Emperor who had played a big game with the Great Wasan Empire in one day. If it weren't for him, the Wasan Empire might have just surrendered and paid some humiliating treaties, but it was him who had to lead a group of sheep to provoke the wolves. Now, the situation of the Great Wasan Empire, which was competing for world hegemony, has changed to the current situation where it is almost destroyed in one day. Emperor Wasan said in a deep voice. I can understand your thoughts of wanting to surrender in exchange for the survival of the Wasan Empire, but we have paid such a great price. If we declare surrender now, wouldn't it be giving up halfway? I guess the fleet of the Wangzi Empire has little energy left, so it has not attacked yet, so everyone must be patient. Many high-ranking officials of the Wasan Empire present felt depressed. After saying so much, this bastard meant to continue to fight with the fleet of the Wangzi Empire. Suddenly, many people looked at each other, and they could see the same idea in each other's eyes. Chapter 378 Please castrate yourself, His Majesty. In short, the current Wasan Empire can no longer withstand any more turmoil. Since the Emperor, this dog, is still going to be stubborn, then for the future of the great Wasan Empire, all we can do is say sorry. A certain senior official said loudly. The Emperor is cruel and inhumane, and has brought the Wasan Empire to an irreparable situation. From now on, I declare an uprising and must surrender to the fleet of the Wangzi Empire. With a leader, other senior officials followed suit. They don't want to die. If they continue to be stubborn with the queen, this dog, then everyone may have to die together, so rebellion is the best choice. The atmosphere in the conference room suddenly became tense. There was only one militant diehard left to support the Emperor, and the other senior officials were scared and planned to surrender. A mutiny occurred immediately. Because the surrendered faction had a large number of people, the rebellion was successful. The diehard who insisted on a decisive battle with the Wangzi Empire were shot dead, and the Emperor of the Wasan Empire was tied up and roared angrily, "You cowards!" No one responded to him, because many ministers had to rush back to make a white cloth surrender. After a long time, just when the fleet of the Wangzi Empire was preparing to attack, the Kyoto of the Wasan Empire raised white flags one after another. From a distance, it looked like some important people had died. The high-ranking officials of the Wasan Empire led the warriors of the Wasan Empire to hold up white flags and shouted, "We surrender, unconditionally surrender, and ask for forgiveness from the fleet of the Wangzi Empire." At this time, on the battleship of the Wangzi Empire, Lin Chen and others looked at each other. Surrendered? Shouldn't they be stubborn to the end? When they saw the desperate expressions on the faces of the Wasan people, everyone knew that they had done it. It took less than a day to make the Wasan people on this planet feel the fear from the depths of their souls. Jiangmin Jiwan said, "Let's talk about it. Should we continue to fight or accept the surrender of the Wasan people?" Lin Chen said, "There is little point in fighting." Others also agreed with this view. After all, the fleet of the Wangzi Empire is a regular army, not a bandit. Lin Chen said, "Since they have surrendered, let's send them all to the icy land in the far north of this planet to dig potatoes. Let the Xia people supervise them and let the Wasan people forgive their sins." Everyone. Jiangmin Jiwan said, "Okay, let's do it." The Wangzi Empire accepted the surrender of the Wasan Empire. However, there is a requirement that all the Wasan people who have served in the army must go to the icy land in the far north to dig the land for 5 years before their crimes can be forgiven. For this request, the high-level officials of the Wasan Empire were almost scared to pee their pants. Lin Chen said, "Since you don't agree to surrender, then we have no choice but to continue fighting." The high-level officials of Wasan hurriedly said, "We are willing to dig potatoes." Although the icy land in the far north is not a place for people to stay, if they don't agree, the other party will continue to fight. Since they agreed to dig potatoes, it will be much easier. Later, the third combined fleet communicated with Xia and saw the once arrogant Wasan people taking a warship to the icy land to dig potatoes. When they arrived at the icy land in the far north, Wasan people realized that this place was not a place for people to stay, but a nightmare, a place that even the devil was afraid of. The weather was extremely bad, with biting cold winds. What's more terrible is that they actually let the supervision of the Xia people go to dig potatoes. Before, the Wasan people treated the Xia people in extremely cruel ways. Now that the situation is reversed, can you imagine what will happen next? In fact, the Xia people did not show any mercy to the Wasan people. More than 500,000 of the 3 million Wasan warriors who dug potatoes in the icy land died in the first month. The hatred of the Xia people towards the Wasan people could not be resolved. Lin Chen saw with his own eyes that in order to better torture the Wasan people, the Xia people came up with a plan called the Wojian plan. It was very simple, just to select lackeys from the Wasan people. This day was the day when the Wangzi Empire was about to leave, so the Empire's third joint fleet appeared again over the icy land. At this moment, in this icy land covered with vast snow, there was an extremely huge labor camp. The former Wozan people were concentrated here and had to wear thin clothes to dig potatoes in the ice and snow every day, and the Xia country played a supervisory role. Hearing that the fleet of the Wangxi Empire was about to leave this world, the head of the Xia country immediately ordered the highest officer of the labor camp, Lin Chen, to organize a farewell program. Today, tens of thousands of Wozan officers in the past were given special care. Instead of going to dig potatoes with the former warriors, they walked out of the pigsty wearing thin clothes. They gathered together and stood tightly under the supervision of the Xia people holding weapons. On the platform, Lin Chen shouted, "I say one sentence, and you follow me. We are not war criminals, but prisoners who started the war. We will repay the kindness of the Wangxi Empire and Xia Kingdom with labor reform." The prisoners of the Wozan labor reform below also shouted. Lin Chen walked down the platform and said, "Oaths must be kept." Then, he pointed to the person in the front and said, "You, the Emperor of the Wozan dog, what is your name? You must step on your national flag." On the ground was a tattered plaster flag. At this moment, the Emperor of Wozan was extremely embarrassed. The Emperor who was once high and mighty was tortured in this place where even the devil was afraid, but his mental state was good because he was the Emperor of the Wozan Empire. The Emperor of Wozan said, "We are not prisoners of war, but proud Wozan people. If the fleet of the Wangxi Empire had not appeared, our fate would be your fate. You have no right to let us do this. Wait, as long as we return to the Wozan Empire, everything today will be returned in full." Contempt. Naked contempt. To the Wozan Empire, the Xia people are just a bunch of bullies who rely on the support of the fleet of the Wangxi Empire. Otherwise, the Wozan Empire can easily defeat the Xia people. Warriors, the great Wozan Empire will not abandon you. Keep your dignity and go back to fight again. Wozan Emperor bent down to pick up the tattered Wozan flag, raised his hands and fluttered in that biting cold wind, and shouted, "Long live the great Wozan Empire." Lin Chen and others who came down from the battleship were extremely embarrassed. It seems that the Xia people are still weak in character and are not cruel to foreigners. Lin Chen seemed to see what Lin Chen and others were thinking. His face was very ugly, and he immediately waved to call a few Japanese traitors and whispered a few words. Then, he apologized to Lin Chen and others and said, "I'm sorry for not disciplining you well." Lin Chen asked, "So what are you going to do?" Lin Chen smiled and said, "The good show is about to begin. What could be more interesting than instructing the Wozan people to harm other Wozan people?" Then, several Japanese traitors gladly accepted the order. It can be said that the reason why they, the Wozan people, suffered here was all because of the whims of the emperor. If it weren't for him, the Wozan Empire would never have been destroyed, and there would not have been a large number of civilians who died tragically, and they would not have come to this place where even the devil was afraid to suffer. So, in order to complete the task of the Xia master excellently, several Japanese traitors immediately walked towards the Wozan Empire fiercely, and said to the former supreme leader with a sullen face, "Please castrate your majesty." A dagger was thrown on the ground, lying quietly at the feet of the Wozan Emperor, flashing a bright cold light. Now the hatred of the Japanese traitors for the Wozan Empire is no less than that of the enemy who killed his father. Not far away, other Wozan prisoners cursed the Japanese traitors in their hearts. It was this group of lackeys who put down their dignity as Wozan people and flattered the Xia people. Many Wozan people were filled with hatred and wanted to kill all the Japanese traitors in the world, but when they saw the dagger on the ground, they were immediately frightened and trembled. The emperor was actually going to become a eunuch. Then when he returned, would his imperial concubine be lonely for the rest of his life? No. As a minister, you must share the worries of your majesty and satisfy the imperial concubine. Your majesty, please hurry up. A Japanese traitor looked fierce. What a shifty emperor. Would you be afraid of him when he has the support of the Xia people behind him? What's more, the Wozan Empire is over. At this time, only by putting down the so-called dignity and flattering the Xia people can you eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks. The Wozan Empire turned pale and was very angry. These hateful Japanese traitors have been harming Wozan warriors in order to flatter the Xia people, but now they dare to harm him. So angry. Chapter 379 The glory of the British Alliance is back. Emperor Wozan glanced at the high-ranking officials of the former Wozan Empire. Why didn't any of these loyal ministers and generals speak up for him? He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Was he, the emperor of the Wozan Empire, really going to fall to such a state? No. I'm the emperor of the Wozan Empire. What's more, the imperial concubine is so beautiful. If he castrates himself, how can he continue his family line in the future? Wouldn't he be looked down upon by the imperial concubine? Countless thoughts flashed through the mind of Emperor Wasan. After a long time, he angrily said righteously, "I am the Emperor of the Wasan Empire. It is absolutely impossible to accept such an impolite request to castrate myself. And you, the slaves of the Xia people, are not worthy of being Wasan people at all." Several Japanese traitors also looked fierce. If it weren't for this dog thing, how could they come to such a place to suffer? They immediately stepped forward, and several people quickly pressed Emperor Wasan to the snow. The last Japanese traitor pulled down the Emperor's pants with both hands. Emperor Wasan was suddenly startled and felt a chill in his crotch. He immediately shouted in shock and anger, "Bagaloo, I am the Emperor of the Wasan Empire. Let me go, you bunch of hateful Japanese traitors, don't think you can do whatever you want with the support of the Xia people." A Japanese traitor was also furious and said, "Your Majesty, we are able to come to this kind of place to suffer thanks to you." Another Japanese traitor stretched out his right hand and pulled the target straight, urging, "Mr. Kimura, why are you wasting words with the Emperor, this dog? I've pulled it straight. Hurry up and use the knife, be careful not to cut my fingers." Emperor Wasan was still struggling, and shouted, "Bagaloo, you bunch of Japanese traitors are not worthy of being Wasan people." However, it was followed by a swish. Emperor Wasan immediately let out a very shrill howl. The sound was extremely harsh, causing many people's eardrums to hurt slightly. One can imagine how much pain Emperor Wasan suffered, but only Emperor Wasan himself knew the most pain, both physically and mentally. Hiss. Everyone present took a breath of cold air, a real cool breath. Even Lin Chen and others couldn't help but feel a chill coming from somewhere. But at this moment, the voice of the Red Queen sounded in Lin Chen's headphones. "The 10-minute detention time is up. Okay, it's time for us to leave too." Lin Chen's face was a little unnatural. He glanced at Emperor Wasan lying in pain on the snow, then greeted Tan Wenchen, the highest officer of the labor camp, and directly led the fleet to the elevator shaft and slowly returned to the fleet. After a while, the third fleet of the Wangxi Empire took off and flew towards outer space. On the ground, the Xia people in the labor camp looked up for a long time until the third joint fleet of the Wangxi Empire completely disappeared from their sight, and then they retracted their gaze. At this moment, at the end of the sky that they could not see through, the third joint fleet of the Wangxi Empire appeared, and began to wend to the depths of the starry sky to return to the Azure Star. This trip, whether for the Empire, Jingminjiwan or even Lin Chen, has a lot of gains. For the Empire, it once again expanded the scope of the star map, making the influence of the Azure Star more developed towards the depths of the starry sky, and also successfully diverted the social contradictions of the Wangxi Empire. And Jingminjiwan did not make a fuss, successfully satisfying his inner desire to show his strength and successfully commanding a foreign war. Finally, Lin Chen also gained a lot. Although there is no task to launch a racial battle, at least there is a change in progress. It won't take long before this task can be completed. Later, the third joint fleet of the Wangxi Empire entered a dull life because it had to travel through the vast starry sky. Fortunately, this time is not long, or it can be said that the soldiers of the third joint fleet of the Empire are already familiar with the long-term interstellar travel. It was not until the third joint fleet entered a familiar starry sky that the expressions of the soldiers of the fleet changed. There is no need for all kinds of technology in sight. With the naked eye, you can see that an extremely beautiful planet has appeared in a dark vacuum zone. That is the Azure Star. We're about to go home to the Azure Star. Not long after, the fleet successfully returned to the shipyard of the Wangxi Empire. For a time, there was a storm. Everyone in the world of the Azure Star knew that the Wangxi Empire had come back from the depths of the starry sky. The people of the Wangxi Empire were so excited when they heard that the fleet of the Empire had beaten up aliens on a planet. In this day and age, if they did not show some dazzling achievements, they would feel ashamed to see people in the future. When the Jianmeng Empire heard that the Wangxi Empire had come back, Puxi immediately ordered the fleet exploring the planets in the depths of the starry sky to do their best to find the alien planets, and they must also organize a large-scale show to show their strength. But the Sun Never Sets Alliance is different. They are happy that the Wangxi Empire has come back, but the Sun Tribal Alliance is still holding their breath. The two leaders of the Sun Never Sets Alliance, William and Nauren, went to the secret base with heavy hearts. We sigh that too sighed repeatedly. Back then, the two old empires of Britain and France were definitely the world's hegemons, but now, let alone the descendants of those thieves, even the Wangxi Empire can't catch up. They have achieved a gorgeous turnaround. Not only is the technology changing with each passing day, but now they are beating aliens from the depths of the starry sky, showing their strength. The two old empires in the past can only hug each other for warmth. Even so, they are still not as good as each other and are still nesting in the blue star. If the Sun Tribal Alliance continues to lag behind, maybe they won't play with themselves in the future. And now, if you want to prove that the Sun Never Sets Alliance is not lonely, you can only rely on the Golden Sensei plan. The Golden Sensei, who is comparable to Superman, has a strong single-soldier combat capability and is also very handsome. Soon, William and Naren enter the secret base that represents the foundation of the Sun Never Sets Alliance. Inside the base, there is still a scene of intense work. After receiving the news, the head of the base immediately came to report on his work. William asked, "How is the progress?" "Yesterday, the Wang's Empire came back from the depths of the starry sky and supplemented a star map at the World Congress. If we don't show our strength, we may not have a say in the world in the future." The person in charge said, "It's almost done." William and Naren. They understood that the reason why the Sensei plan was so fast was because the Sensei armor did not require as much precise big data as the manufacture of spacecraft. And at this time, if it was placed in the Wang's Empire or the Jianmeng Empire, the other party could almost build a large-scale spacecraft. In short, the Sun Never Sets Alliance, which has no resources, is now living a tight life. William asked, "You say an exact time?" The person in charge said, "There is absolutely no problem at the end of the month. Now our Sensei only needs Gemini to gather the 12 gold saints." William and Naren looked at each other, and their hearts began to become active. Because the Sun Never Sets Alliance is about to restore its former glory, and now, the strength of the Sun Never Sets Alliance can no longer be kept low-key. Then the two of them said in unison, "Yes, when we return, we will show the world the existence of the saints. We want to tell the world that after inheriting the will of the two old empires, the former glory of the British Alliance is still there." Suddenly, many people in the base subconsciously put down their work and their eyes were filled with excitement. They have been waiting for this day for too long. Chapter 380 Sensei Armor. At the end of the month, the Sun Never Sets Alliance finally gathered 12 sets of gold Sensei armor. These armors are full of the style of the Sun Never Sets Alliance. When the 12 gold Sensei appeared in front of William and Naren, and performed a shocking show at the special effects of the ultimate move, William and Naren began to prepare for a show with full confidence, a show that shocked the world. After all, it is to announce to the world that the Sun Never Sets Alliance has regained its former glory. Of course, it cannot be low-key, and it must be known to everyone. At the end of the month, there are only 5 days left until the first day of the month. On this day, the Sun Never Sets Alliance issued a statement to the world, which immediately caused an uproar around the world. On the first day of the month, at 9 o'clock in the morning, the Sun Never Sets Alliance will display the world's most powerful single-soldier armor in London Square. This will be the first time in the world to broadcast the 12 Sensei wearing armor live, so stay tuned. As soon as the news came out, the world was shocked. The Japanese Tribal Alliance couldn't sit still and came out to show its strength again. Countless people's first reaction was to sneer at this. Everyone deeply remembers how shameless the Sun Never Sets Alliance was. In order to show its strength and change the world's 3 views, even the 2 big leaders in the pretentious world, Pussy and Delu Ngumo, have to admit defeat. The last Atlantic Mecha competition. Every day, the public opinion kept boasting about the Angel Mecha, but it was cut in half by a sword. Even so, the Sun Never Sets Alliance even used public opinion to boast that the pilot of the Wang's Empire used conspiracy. What's more, the Wang's Empire has just returned from the depths of the starry sky to show its strength not long ago. Generally speaking, everyone will keep a low profile at this time to avoid being slapped in the face. However, the Sun Never Sets Alliance seemed to be stubborn and actually came out to show its strength in a high-profile manner. Could it be that this time the Sun Never Sets Alliance has sufficient preparations to counterattack? Many people think more and more that it makes sense. Therefore, most people in the world subconsciously believe that the armor displayed by the Sun Never Sets Alliance this time will definitely be awesome, and it is not impossible to even beat the Marines of the Wang's Empire and the exoskeleton armor of the Jianmeng Empire. At this moment, the people of the Sun Tribal Alliance celebrated. Recently, either the Wang's Empire or the Jianmeng Empire has been showing off its strength, which has made the people of the British Union feel sour, envious, jealous and hateful. And now, the British Union has finally shown its strength. This time, it will definitely be able to trample everyone under its feet. Thinking of the scene of punching Wang Xin and kicking Jian Meng in the future, the people of the British Union are extremely excited as if they were injected with chicken blood. Jian Meng Empire. Pussy is looking forward to the Empire's fleet being able to find a new alien planet, and then make a recorded video to show its strength and slap the Wang Xin Empire in the face. However, just when he was thinking about the most exciting things, the Minister of Foreign Affairs came in and said to him that the British Union also wants to show its strength. And it is shameless to brag about the world's strongest armor. Pussy sneered. Although he is not a member of the British Union, no one in this world can understand the British Union better than himself, no one understands it better than him. Just the brushes of the British Union. They couldn't do it in the era of Mechas before, but now everyone has entered the era of interstellar colonization, and they only have a few large and small spaceships. How can a force that can't do this still make armor? Don't plagiarize the exoskeleton armor of the Jian Meng Empire. The news of the Sun Never Sets Alliance also reached the Wang Xin Empire. Stunned. Everyone was stunned. The Sun Tribal Alliance is about to announce the world's strongest armor. It's just armor, how come Sensei popped up? Lin Chen pondered over it for a while and said to himself, maybe it's fake. If it is said that it was developed by the Jian Meng Empire, it may be barely credible, but forget about the Sun Never Sets Alliance. This force has taken shamelessness to the extreme. In short, all the good ones are theirs, and all the bad ones are others. Similarly, they are always right, and others are always wrong. At the same time, the whole world of Azure Star is still in a state of extreme shock, and they have been successfully fooled by the Sun Never Sets Alliance. After all, there are only a few types of individual armor on Azure Star now. Everyone has seen the individual armors of the Wang Xin Empire and the Jian Meng Empire, but now the armor of the Sun Never Sets Alliance is about to be announced. While people all over the world are shocked, they are more curious. To be the world's #1 armor, it must be stronger than the individual armors of the Wang Xin Empire and the Jian Meng Empire. I hope their battles can be as strong as they are boasting at this time. Soon, the news about the new armor of the Sun Never Sets Alliance was like a hurricane that was constantly raging around the world, and people were talking about armor after dinner. The Sun Never Sets Alliance also seized this heat and quickly made a second set of plans, a publicity offensive. Only the louder it was, the more people around the world could feel how strong the glory of the Sun Never Sets Alliance was in the past. The next day, the Sun Never Sets Alliance didn't care what the world said. What they had to do is to let more people talk about the Sensei armor at the Sun Never Sets Alliance. The publicity offensive started. Sun Never Sets Radio. The new armor of the Sun Never Sets Alliance is about to be announced, and its birth is worthy of the title of the world's #1 armor. News from the Sun Never Sets Alliance. A new type of armor is about to be announced. According to the calculations of our reporter, the birth of the new armor will surely open a new chapter for the Azure Star. Sun Never Sets Morning Post. Our armor is the first in the universe. Global news. New armor? Saints AR? There must be some connection between the two. Let us wait and see the birth of the strongest armor. Every day is full of news. In short, the loudest they can be, and they even step on the armor of the Wang Xin Empire and the Jian Meng Empire. After so much hype, the people at the Sun Never Sets Alliance believed it. Then, the inferiority complex turned into a strong sense of pride. Many people in the Sun Never Sets Alliance cheered, as if they saw the glory of their ancestors coming again. As time passed, it was the day for the Sun Never Sets Alliance to announce the armor. Today, the London Square of the Sun Never Sets Alliance is already overcrowded. Many people from the Sun Never Sets Alliance came from all over the world just to be able to see the world's strongest armor with their own eyes. There is an open space in the center of the square, which was temporarily reserved by the staff, because there, the Sensei armor will be presented to the world. At the scene, as the time approached, the audience was excited, and began to shake the banners and flags in their hands vigorously to vent their inner joy. The Sun Never Sets Alliance is the strongest. The Sun Never Sets Alliance is the first in the universe. Long live the Sun Tribal Alliance. People shouted various slogans, and the atmosphere was high. After William and Naren stood on the temporary podium and took in all of this, they smiled. What a rare scene. It's a pity that perhaps in the near future, facing such a grand scene, there is a high probability that they will be numb, because the former glory of the Sun Never Sets Alliance will soon return, and the Sun Never Sets Alliance will rise. Once the Sensei armor begins to be mass-produced in the future, everyone will be a Sensei comparable to Superman. Just ask the Wang Xin Empire and the Jian Meng Empire if they're afraid. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 381, The 12 Golden Suns make a shining appearance. New Year begging for subscription. Time passed, and it was almost 9 o'clock in the morning when the armor was announced. The British Union sent a live broadcast signal to the world for free. Suddenly, the number of global viewers soared. People from the Wangxi Empire, the Jianming Empire, and other countries were waiting in front of their TVs for the British Union's armor to appear. Soon, it was exactly 9 o'clock in the morning. Here it comes. The audiences at the scene and in front of the TV were excited. But soon, everyone began to look surprised. Because in the eyes of billions of viewers around the world, 12 young people came to the center of the square with a steady gait. These 12 young people were all young and handsome, and they were holding a metal box in their hands, as if this was not a display of the British Union's armor to the world, but a fashion show week. Lin Chen was stunned. Pussy was also stunned. Global audience. Question mark, question mark, question mark, live audience. Question mark, question mark, question mark, her. What the hell? We're here to see the armor, not the fashion show. The 12 handsome young men were still standing in the middle of the square. It was obvious that they were here to show off their armor. After the global audience and the audience at the scene had overcome their initial shock, they began to show anger on their faces. It felt like this was another complete scam. What was strongest armor? The 12 young men were clearly wearing suits and carrying boxes in their hands, but there was no armor that everyone had been waiting for. The anger on people's faces became more and more obvious. What do you think this is? Do you think they are filming The Matrix? Get out of here, this is not the place you should come to. We're here to see the armor, not to see 12 idiots showing off. Who do you think they are? I can beat them away with just one finger. For a while, the people at the scene of the sun never sets kept yelling and cursing in frustration. The 12 suns at the scene were stunned. They looked very handsome at the moment, shouldn't they receive the warmest cheers as soon as they appeared? Why are they cursing? William looked embarrassed, and he slapped his thigh and instantly understood the cause and effect. He was too busy pretending to be cool and didn't have time to explain, so the people must think that their feelings were deceived, so their emotions became too intense. He hurriedly used the microphone to say, "People, please be quiet." The scene suddenly became quiet, and many people looked at William. And William quickly explained, "These 12 young people are the 12 golden sons of our Sun Never Set Alliance, but they haven't transformed yet, so they may be misunderstood by everyone." All the audience suddenly realized. Yes. They haven't transformed yet. After hearing William's explanation, the audiences from all over the world complained helplessly. What the hell, and it's still transforming? Is it a battle armor or something weird? Is it not a bursting transformation? The fancy show of the Sun Never Sets Alliance completely exceeded everyone's cognition. Battle armor that can transform? Never heard of it. Then the camera was seen again aiming at the 12 young people in the square. They moved. After posing a series of poses, they inserted their hands into the metal box they carried. Suddenly, something strange happened. Each metal box flashed with a dazzling golden light, and the covering armor extended from the metal box, wrapping these young people. About 5 seconds later, the 12 young people were automatically dressed in golden armor. But this obviously did not achieve the expected effect. At the same time, a British Union spacecraft hovering outside the atmosphere of the Azure Star launched a total of 12 immortal divine energies. 12 divine lights fell from the sky and ragged the 12 young people again. At this moment, both the audience at the scene and the audience in front of the TV were shocked. It simply shocked everyone. After a while, the dazzling light dissipated, and the camera returned to clarity. 12 young people wearing golden armor appeared on the screen, posing in familiar shapes. A cool and compelling way to appear. This kind of armor is different from the armor of the Wangxi Empire and the Jianming Empire. It looks like a product of technology. The armor of the Sun Never Set Alliance is more like ancient armor, full of the style of the Sun Never Set Alliance, and there are also ancient weapons, such as bows and arrows. Seeing this scene, billions of viewers in front of the TV were stunned. Let's not talk about the actual performance, but just talking about this handsome appearance, it is simply better than the armor of the Wangxi Empire and the Jianming Empire. Wow, what a great visual effect. Damn, so handsome, it's clearly a weapon for picking up girls. With this kind of armor in the future, won't it be possible to sleep with beautiful women at will? The Sun Never Sets Alliance has once again refreshed everyone's cognition. This cool appearance shocked everyone. At present, it doesn't matter whether the armor announced by the Sun Never Sets Alliance is powerful or not, only handsomeness is the key. And the enthusiasm of the Sun Never Sets people far exceeds that of everyone in the world. They were excited and tears filled their eyes, shouting various slogans, and looking forward to the future. At this moment, at the scene, the 12 gold cents were being reviewed by the public. Hearing the endless cheers, the cents smiled unconsciously. That's right, this is the effect we want. Once the gold cents appear, they will definitely hold the atmosphere of the whole audience. At this time, William on the podium felt the atmosphere of the scene, and his heart was already extremely happy. He caught the enthusiasm of the audience and immediately smiled into the microphone. Everyone has seen it, these are the 12 constellation gold cents of the British Union. At the scene, countless audiences shouted in unison, "I have seen it." William said again, "Now, as long as you are the strongest armor in history, you can become a glorious gold saint. Now let our 12 constellation gold cents show you the excellence of the armor." The people of the British Union were very excited. The camera moved away from William and turned to the cents of various shapes. Aries gold cent Mew stepped out. He had a handsome face and long purple hair fluttering in the wind, making it hard to tell whether he was a man or a woman. However, his golden armor made everyone dare not mock him. The show began. The will of the gold cent is indestructible. Aries St. Mew said a very childish sentence, and directly activated the special effects of the ultimate move. A star map appeared behind him, and these star maps were connected by a golden line and finally gathered into the pattern of Aries. After the performance, the scene suddenly became quiet, and countless audiences held their breath. They saw that this gold cent could actually control the movement of objects in the air. Too strong. It is worthy of being the largest armor in history. It is impossible to tell how it is done. At this time, Leo Gold Cent Aeolia also came out. He had a fluffy short golden hair and the golden armor on his body, which gave people a very heroic feeling. Leo Gold Cent Aeolia didn't waste any words and directly activated the special effects of his ultimate move, with a Leo star map appearing behind him. After the performance, Aeolia said in a very coquettish manner, "The Cent will always protect the love and peace of the earth. On the first day of the new year, thank you all for your long-term care. The author here wishes everyone all the best in the new year." Chapter 382. This show is amazing. Wisdom, benevolence, and courage are the qualities of a saint. The place I protect is the Azure Planet. Later, the gold cents kept saying all kinds of dirty words. Until the 12 gold cents finished their performances one after another, although they showed their middle school second degree to the extreme, the people of the Sun Never Sets clenched their fists excitedly, and their faces were flushed with excitement. These cents are the heroes of the Sun Never Sets Alliance. With them, there is no worry that they cannot reproduce the glory of the past. The performances of the 12 gold cents were also broadcast live to billions of viewers around the world. After the performance, the audience around the world slowed down again and again, opened their eyes wide and couldn't help but take a breath. Yes, this show is amazing. At this moment, the self-confidence of the Sun Never Sets Alliance was extremely inflated. From the top of the alliance to the people, they formed a tacit understanding. It was not that they deeply felt that the armor of the Sun Never Sets Alliance was already the best in the world, but the fact was that the armor of the Sun Never Sets Alliance was the best in the world. Such a shocking gold cent armor should be the best in the world without any suspense. In this case, we should prepare to show the invincible style of the British Union in a more grand manner, so that people all over the world can see what the glory of the past is. So, William began the second phase of the plan, the Atlantic Ocean Individual Armor Competition. In this rare event, William faced more than 1 billion viewers around the world and denounced loudly, "The British Union will hold the first Atlantic Ocean Individual Armor Competition next month to determine the world's #1 armor. Welcome all countries in the world to sign up and participate in this global competition." As soon as the news came out, the world was boiling again. Atlantic Ocean Armor Competition. Now it is obvious that the Wangzhou Empire and the Jianming Empire have armor in the world. Now that the British Union has just displayed the armor, it has threatened to hold the Atlantic Ocean Armor Competition. It is obvious that this is to compete for the first place, and it is determined to win the face. For a time, most people in the world believed that the first place belonged to the Japanese Tribal Alliance and it was well deserved. After all, I have seen the armors of the three top forces, the Wang's Empire, the Jianmeng Empire, and the Sun Tribal Alliance. Obviously, the armors of the Sun Never Sets Alliance are the most powerful, and they can use powerful moves with great visual impact at any time. On the other hand, the armors of the Wangzhen and Jianmeng Empires cannot use special effects, which is really low. William and Naren smiled. This time we must avenge the previous shame. As long as the Wangzhen Empire and the Jianmeng Empire dare to participate in the competition, they will be beaten into pigheads and become the laughing stock of the world. The 12 gold cents are ready to fight, ready to punch Wangzhen and kid Jianmeng in the next month's Atlantic Armor competition, and win the admiration of the world with a gorgeous appearance to solve the enemy. I can't hold back the urge to show off in my heart. The news that the Sun Never Sets Alliance announced to the world that it would hold the Atlantic Armor competition was also sweeping the world like a hurricane. The whole world knew the news and turned their eyes to the Wangzhen Empire and the Jianmeng Empire, because there would be another good show to watch if they waited for another one. However, Lin Chen was not concerned about these things at the moment. He was very curious about how the Sensei armor at the Sun Never Sets Alliance was made. To be fair, it looked even stronger than the Marine Corps power combat. As for transformation, the Marine Corps could not do it. Moreover, the main weapon of the Marine Corps is still the electromagnetic rifle, but it could not launch energy attacks like the Sensei R. Especially the Sagittarius Sensei R was even more exaggerated, he actually shot energy arrows with a bow. It was like a fantasy world. Lin Chen knew that most of the star maps were mapped by the Wangzhen Empire and the Jianmeng Empire, and it seemed that there was nothing about the Sun Never Sets Alliance. Otherwise, he would definitely think that the Sun Never Sets Alliance entered a certain cultivation civilization and obtained some cultivation method. Therefore, it was certain that there was something wrong with their armor. Because it was too incredible. What went wrong? Lin Chen thought for a long time. Finally, when he was at a loss for words, his mind suddenly became clear. At the moment of transformation into a Sensei R, there was no problem with the covering armor. It was the birth of some kind of technology, but the dazzling golden light from the sky was definitely the problem. Lin Chen asked the artificial intelligence Red Queen, are there any of our spaceships that have just flown out of the Azure Star or are about to return to the Azure Star? We're checking. After a while, Red Queen said again, there is a Millennium Falcon that is about to enter the atmosphere from Pandora. Lin Chen said, send me the short-term flight record. Red Queen immediately obtained the flight record of the Millennium Falcon that was about to enter the Azure Star. It was a video. The screen showed that the Millennium Falcon was about to enter the Azure Star, but a group of very magical pictures were taken, which was a picture of a spaceship emitting 12 bright lights towards the Azure Star. When comparing the time of the Sensei armor, it was completely consistent. Lin Chen. Oh, so that's it. All the problems were solved. It's not that the Sensei armor at the Sun Never Sets Alliance is too fantasy, but that they are just doing something weird again. It is not necessary to guess that the energy should be fired from the spacecraft at the Sensei armor. How can this armor not be strong? After all, it needs a spacecraft to support it and provide it with energy. If it loses the spacecraft, it will probably be a pair of broken copper and rotten iron. Whether it is the Wangzhen Empire or the Jianmeng Empire, although the design concepts of the armor are very different, the purpose is only one: to fight. And the Sensei armor at the Sun Tribal Alliance was obviously born for show. Awesome. With this research and development energy, wouldn't it be better to put it on the spacecraft? So many fancy things are not practical for the spacecraft, and they have to take up the time of a spacecraft or even more spacecrafts. This is definitely a prelude to a crash. At this moment, in the Jianmeng Empire, Pussy was very unhappy. The power of the Sensei armor was unexpected. He never thought that the Sun Never Sets Alliance would actually counterattack and it would not be a problem to restore the glory of the past with a kind of armor. What's more terrible is that this is even stronger than the exoskeleton armor. How can this be possible? What if they lose to the British Union in the Atlantic Armor competition? Wouldn't the British Union seize this opportunity to publicize that the Jianmeng Empire is not as good as the Japanese Tribal Union? Oh, fuck. Thinking of the nature of the British Union, Pussy felt sick. The Minister of Foreign Affairs said disdainfully, no, with the strength of the British Union, how could it be possible to develop such a powerful armor? There must be something wrong with the armor. In short, I just don't believe it. The Minister of the Interior nodded in agreement. After all, the Sensei armor is like a fantasy novel. It's strange to believe it. Pussy said. The problem that bothers us now is the Atlantic armor competition organized by the British Union. The only ones with armor isn't the Wangxian Empire. From the current point of view, we have a high chance of losing. The Minister of the Interior added. The Wangxian Empire also has a high chance of losing. Suddenly, Pussy vaguely grasped something. He felt sick here, so didn't the Wangxian Empire feel sick? The answer is yes. Since everyone has the same idea at the moment. A light bulb went off in Pussy's head, and he came up with a brilliant idea. Chapter 383. Standing up. Drag the Wangxian Empire into the water, and then we will stand up together. The Japanese Tribal Alliance wants to use the Sensei armor to slap us in the face. Why don't we just not participate together? By the way, we can also embarrass the Sun Never Sets Alliance. Great idea. Pussy smiled slightly and thought this idea was very good. After all, it is now a situation where Wangxian and Jianmeng are competing for hegemony. What a thing the Sun Never Sets Alliance is, and it wants to show its strength. Later, the Jianmeng Empire contacted the Wangxian Empire about the transatlantic armor competition announced by the Japanese Tribal Alliance. Pussy and Jianmeng had a conversation. At this time, they had a common enemy, the Japanese Tribal Alliance. Pussy said, "We can't go. As long as we don't go together, the Sun Never Sets Alliance will be embarrassed in the end." Jianmeng nodded and said, "That's right, as long as no one goes, it won't be us who will be embarrassed in the end." The two hit it off. After that, Jianmeng conveyed his words to Lin Chen, and the matter was officially finalized. Lin Chen. Is this really okay? The Sun Never Sets Alliance had put on such a grand show, but in the end, they stood them up in front of the world's audience. However, Lin Chen had no intention of rejecting Jianmeng. In short, if they went, they would definitely lose, so not going could cleverly avoid the shame of failure. Of course, the Sun Never Sets Alliance didn't know all this yet. At this time, they were in a complacent atmosphere, and they were about to regain their former glory. The excited countless Sun Never Sets people felt like they were living a year. The top leaders of the Sun Tribal Alliance were not idle either, and began to arrange the competition venue. This was a matter of the former glory of the Sun Tribal Alliance, so it had to be the most grand. For a while, world-renowned people were constantly invited, and the purpose was obvious that the Sun Never Sets Alliance wanted to defeat the armor of the Wangxian Empire and the Jianmeng Empire in front of the eyes of the whole world and win the first place. As time went by, the time of the competition was approaching day by day. And William and Nara couldn't sit still. The Atlantic race was about to start, and many forces had already signed up enthusiastically. Countries such as the Gaga Kingdom and the Turkey Kingdom showed off their own armor. However, Nara yelled in frustration. "Why are a bunch of useless things signing up? The Sun Never Sets Alliance wants to defeat the Wangxian Empire and the Jianmeng Empire to become the strongest armor. What's the point of fighting with a bunch of noobs?" William also said puzzledly. "Strange, it's too patient. Up to now, why is there no news about the Wangxian Empire and the Jianmeng Empire? Aren't they afraid to come? How can this be possible? If they don't dare to come, won't the competition carefully planned by the Sun Never Sets Alliance end in failure?" William contacted the Wangxian Empire and the Jianmeng Empire and asked why they didn't come to sign up. The competition is about to start, otherwise they will be treated as abstentions. After some inquiries, they got the reply that they would give the Sun Never Sets Alliance a surprise on the day of the competition. William smiled. He was not afraid of them coming. It didn't matter if they didn't sign up, as long as they came. In this case, on that day, the Sun Never Sets Alliance once again used public opinion. Sun Never Sets Global News. Wangxian Empire leader Jianmeng previously stated in a phone call that the Sensei of the Sun Never Sets Alliance is very powerful. Sun Never Sets Radio. Jianmeng Empire leader Pussy has said more than once that the Sensei may take first place. Sun Never Sets Radio. The opponent is afraid before the competition even starts. The first place is well deserved by the Sensei armor. Every day after that, the Sun Never Sets Alliance will blow it up on time. After so much blowing, the people at the Sun Never Sets believe it. For a time, many people generally believed that the Sensei would beat the heroes in the upcoming transatlantic armor competition and become the most powerful armor in human history. As time went by, soon it was the grand event held by the Sun Never Sets Alliance, the transatlantic armor competition. The scale of the event was unprecedentedly grand. Not only were people from all walks of life present, but many countries also took out their own researched armors, not seeking to compete for the first place, but at least to show their faces. But today, the scene that should have been extremely active became filled with an awkward atmosphere. Because the Wangxi Empire and the Jianmeng Empire were not present at all. 1 hour passed, 2 hours passed, and the event was still being postponed. Everyone. What does this mean? It's okay if they didn't come, but at least they should send someone to explain the situation. But it just so happened that the two empires didn't come, as if they had agreed before. William's face sank, and he had a bad feeling in his heart. Could it be that they stood him up? Then, he came to the podium and forced a smile into the microphone, saying, "I'm sorry, everyone. I think the Wangxi Empire and the Jianmeng Empire may have something urgent to do, so they're late. Let's wait a little longer." People from all walks of life and various forces below agreed, showing great generosity. It's better to say that they're afraid of the strength of the Wangxi Empire and the Jianmeng Empire and dare not have any dissatisfaction. Wait a minute, I guess the two empires are throwing a tantrum again. Yes, I think they may be on their way. After all, they are top forces, so they naturally have to show off. It's understandable. How could anyone be absent from such a grand event? Lateness is possible. All forces were extremely generous. After all, we have just entered the stage of space exploration, and the two empires have already colonized many planets and obtained a steady stream of various resources. At this time, condemning two real behemoths for a trivial matter is not looking for death. The 12 gold cents showed a cold smile on their faces. Wait, we must use the most gorgeous moods to punch Wangxi and Kid Jianmeng to gain the admiration of the world. However, another hour passed, and then 2 hours passed. Because of the absence of the Wangxi Empire and the Jianmeng Empire, this rare event and people from all walks of life waited from morning to afternoon, but it did not start. What is going on? Many people began to look at William and Naren with suspicion, and whispered from time to time. It has been a day, but there is still no sign of the Wangxi Empire and the Jianmeng Empire. William and Naren's faces immediately sank. Originally, they planned to make the Wangxi Empire and the Jianmeng Empire embarrassed, but they never thought that the Sun Never Sets Alliance would be embarrassed now. After thinking about the despicable behavior of two top powers joining forces to stand up and play tricks on people, the two of them contacted the Wangxi Empire with dark faces. This matter must be made clear, otherwise it will not end. A huge screen appeared in the arena. William and Naren wanted to let the whole world see the hateful faces of the Wangxi Empire and the Jianmeng Empire. After a while, Jiang Minjiwan's figure appeared on the huge screen. William immediately asked in a deep voice, "What's the matter? Didn't you say before that you don't need to register and send armor to participate in the competition directly? Why didn't you come to see your people? You are deliberately playing tricks on people, right?" Jiang Minjiwan was in a state of drama, and said in surprise, I'm so sorry, we currently have a new interstellar exploration plan, so we sent out all the armor. Otherwise, we will do it in the next circumatlantic armor competition. Everyone at the scene. Chapter 384. The methods he always used to do this is a stand-up. Although I don't know what the British Union and the Wangxi Empire said before, the current situation is very clear. The Wangxi Empire stood up the British Union. William said with a dark face, "You are so cruel." Then he thought again, since the Wangxi Empire stood up, it is impossible for the Jianmeng Empire to stand up. As long as the Jianmeng Empire can come, the British Union can completely rely on public opinion to establish the image of the Wangxi Empire as a coward. Soon, Jiang Minjiwan's figure disappeared on the big screen, and was replaced by Pussy of the Jianmeng Empire. William smiled and said, "Where is the army you are participating in the competition? Did something go wrong on the way? I will send someone to pick you up." Pussy was also acting like a drama queen, and said in surprise, "Oh, fuck, I'm so sorry, I forgot that there is also a circumatlantic armor competition. Not long ago, our fleet went to carry out a new interstellar exploration mission, and the super soldiers equipped with exoskeleton armor went with it." William's face suddenly darkened. At this moment, no matter how stupid he was, he knew that this was a collaboration between the Wangxi Empire and the Jianmeng Empire. Is it such a coincidence? This one just went on an interstellar exploration mission, and the other one followed. So angry. It turns out that the clowns were the British Union from beginning to end. They must be unwilling to see the British Union regain its former glory. William hung up that video call in a rage. "Fuck, you're despicable." The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became weird. This time the British Union was really embarrassed. They have always regarded the Wangzi Empire and the Jianming Empire as their main opponents, and the British Union made the Atlantic Armor competition particularly grand in order to demonstrate its strength and defeat them in front of the global audience. But in the end, the two main opponents directly stirred them up, as if they didn't think highly of the Sun Tribal Alliance at all. What did they forget? What did they go on an interstellar exploration mission? It was clear that they didn't intend to play with the British Union. Many people instantly felt that the Atlantic Armor competition had no intention of continuing. After all, the top powers, the Wangzi Empire and the Jianming Empire, did not come. What was the point? William was furious and yelled, "Just wait and see. Sooner or later, our sensei of the Sun Never Sets Alliance will illuminate the world with glory." Instead, Nara came up with a brilliant idea. In the end, the Atlantic Armor competition ended in displeasure, but the matter of the sensei armor was not over. The Atlantic Armor competition was not successfully held because the two main players, the Wangzi Empire and the Jianming Empire, stood up. The Sun Never Sets Alliance would naturally not admit that they were not good enough, and naturally would not admit that it was the Wangzi and Jianming Empires that did not play with the Sun Tribal Alliance. Just when the Sun Never Sets Alliance became a laughing stock of the world, they began to use the means they were always good at the next day. While various excuses continued, public opinion was overwhelming. Golden Leo Sensei area claimed that the Wangzi Empire was as timid as a mouse and was scared to use a despicable excuse to not dare to come to the competition. It is reported that the verdant angel of Jianming Empire has felt the fear of Sensei from the depths of his soul. Exclusive revelation: according to the research of a certain professor, it is found that the armor of Wangzi Empire and Jianming Empire is difficult to win the Sensei armor, so they found excuses in advance not to come. Private report: during the Atlantic Armor competition, why did Wangzi Empire and Jianming Empire conduct interstellar exploration at almost the same time? It is precisely because Wangzi Empire and Jianming Empire feel fear of Sensei armor that they use excuses to claim that all armor is a commission for interstellar exploration, and the purpose is not to lose. Because they are afraid that the Sun Never Sets Alliance will reproduce its former glory, so they use conspiracy and tricks. Under such overwhelming propaganda, most forces in the world generally think that what the Sun Never Sets Alliance said is reasonable. It turns out that Wangzi Empire and Jianming Empire are afraid. It turns out that Wangzi Empire and Jianming Empire are afraid of losing the comparison, so they agreed to use despicable means not to participate in the competition. Just say that the Sensei armor that is comparable to Superman is the strongest armor in the world, and it should beat all armors. Whether you believe it or not, more than 80% of the forces on the Azure Star believe it. Because of the development of the times, many forces have been getting farther and farther away from the two empires, just like two mountains, almost pressing most forces to breathe. At this time, the public opinion offensive successfully ignited the anger of the network trolls of the Wangzi Empire and the Jianming Empire. The topic of the self-deception of the Sun Never Sets Alliance has become a hot topic in the social media of each media. Rubbish Sensei are. How funny, we are going to expand our territory, who has time to participate in that competition with you? You shouldn't play with the Sun Never Sets Alliance in the future. Everyone is used to it, this is the usual method of the Sun Never Sets Alliance. In short, they are always right and others are always wrong. The internet exploded. This time, it was rare that the network trolls of the Wangzi Empire and the Jianming Empire did not fight each other, and their targets were surprisingly consistent, aiming at the Sun Tribal Alliance. Of course, they didn't know that in fact, whether it was the Wangzi Empire or the Jianming Empire, they were not as great as the people thought. Knowing that they would be beaten by the Sensei this time, they certainly didn't go. However, the mission of interstellar exploration is indeed real. After all, the progress of an advanced civilization often requires a lot of resources and material elements. At this moment, Lin Chen set out on his journey again, and he was still unaware of the subsequent events on the Azure Star. He not only had to go to the depths of the starry sky to find alien planets, but also to find more advanced material elements. At present, the fleet of the Wangzi Empire is about to leave the galaxy and is about to part ways with the Jianming fleet that flew out of the Azure Star. General Bid, the commander of the Jianming fleet, said in the video call, "See you later." He and Lin Chen are old acquaintances, and have cooperated several times. After hanging up their call, the Jianming fleet sailed out of the galaxy. Compared with General Bid's energetic expression, Lin Chen and others were a little confused, and had no idea where to go next. After all, Dr. Shao's 3 Millennium Falcons had conducted an interstellar exploration before, and apart from discovering a planet where humans and Wasan people coexisted, there was no other gain. A captain suggested, "Why don't we follow that Jianmeng fleet?" They discovered the immortal vine. They also discovered the elemental ore of Pandora. It can be said that every time the Jianmeng fleet conducts interstellar exploration, there will always be major discoveries. Now the Empire's fleet may also have a major gain by following them. Everyone's eyes suddenly lit up. Great. This idea is really great. Wouldn't following the Jianmeng fleet solve the problem of interstellar exploration? The Wang Xun fleet immediately looked for the direction of the Jianmeng fleet and began to chase at full speed. After a while, it caught up with the Jianmeng fleet, which was slowly moving forward in the vast starry sky, and fell far behind. After a long time, the Jianmeng fleet discovered the Wang Xun fleet following behind. A captain contacted General Bit and reported, "Report, the Wang Xun fleet has been following us, and it is suspected that they have some ulterior motives." Follow. Ulterior motives? Yes, they have been following us from a distance for nearly 2 hours. General Bit was puzzled at first, and then suddenly said angrily, "Damn it, they must be preparing to steal the fruits of our labor again, just like what happened to Pandora last time." A captain asked, "Do you want to contract them? All ships speed up and get rid of the group of followers behind." General Bit smiled coldly. Now, it seems that the Jianmeng fleet will have to show the Wang Xun fleet what real technology is. Chapter 385. Isn't this the chance to show off? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The speed of hundreds of ships in the Jianmeng fleet was extremely fast. In order to get rid of the Wang Xun fleet's tail, they even started space jump. Inside the Wang Xun fleet, a captain reported, "Report, the Jianmeng fleet suddenly accelerated. Chase." The speed of the Wang Xun fleet was also extremely fast. In a blink of an eye, it also disappeared in the vast starry sky. The two fleets kept shuttling in the vast starry sky while chasing each other. Speed up, get rid of them. Speed up, don't let them run away. The Wang Xun fleet has surpassed us. What are you waiting for? Turn around and run. The two fleets entered one star system after another, as if they were not here to explore the stars, but to fly spaceships in the stars. During this period, both the Wang Xun fleet and the Jianmeng fleet discovered another fleet. A brand new fleet, not belonging to the fleet of the Azure Star, but the warships and spaceships added together amounted to hundreds of ships, so dense that they almost occupied a large space. However, neither the Wang Xun nor the Jianmeng fleets were afraid. They all came from the same planet, and they knew what to do once the war started. In the starry sky, the Wang Xun fleet and the Jianmeng fleet continued to chase each other, passing by their mysterious fleets. After a long time, the two fleets entered an unknown star field one after another and stopped chasing. Lin Chen looked at this galaxy and said to himself, "Sure enough, the Jianmeng fleet is a group of mascots, and they can find special galaxies like this. At present, entering this galaxy is very strange. Unlike other galaxies, there are basically only 1 or 2 habitable planets, and all the planets in this galaxy actually have atmospheres. After preliminary detection by launching a detector, they are completely habitable planets." The Jianmeng fleet was also stunned. A blind bat meets a dead mouse. Then General Bit's face was uncertain. If it weren't for the existence of the Wang Xun fleet, these planets would all belong to the Jianmeng Empire. So angry. Later, the Wang Xun fleet followed the Jianmeng fleet into a planet. After surveying, this planet looked very strange. There is plenty of sunlight and air, but there are no plants, not even living things. It is like a desert planet. The detectors of other planets also send feedback that they are also desert planets. Later, the satellite function of the battleship was turned on to scan the terrain of the entire planet. After a while, the scanning function was turned on. After a long time, a group of fast-moving creatures appeared on the screen. Lin Chen said, "Wait a minute, zoom in." Then the picture on the tablet screen in his hand gradually became clear, and gradually a group of insects appeared. They are 3 meters long, and their shells actually change their colors according to the different terrains. They are yellow-brown in the desert, while some more insects in meteorites or asteroids look gray or black. And similar to the insects on the surface of the blue star, they all have 3 pairs of legs, and the last 2 pairs of legs of this insect are more developed. Lin Chen observed that the speed of this insect is very amazing, and can even reach a terrifying speed of 60 kilometers per hour. Lin Chen frowned and said, "Zeg." He couldn't help but think of the era of the 3 races fighting for interstellar hegemony. Terrans, Protoss, and Zerg. But these bugs are obviously of low intelligence, and they don't have the ability to fight in the Starcraft. At the same time, the Jianmeng fleet also sent a message. General Bit asked, "Did you find anything?" Lin Chen shared the data without hiding anything, and found a group of huge bugs. Then, the joy on General Bit's face on the screen turned into a solemn look, and he said in a deep voice, "I seem to know why these bugs are so big. ? We accidentally discovered a high-level substance called Kyber crystal, which is more advanced than the fairy vine. The energy it releases can quickly fill energy weapons." Lin Chen was suddenly shocked. The fairy vine is definitely the core of the Azure Star. Its energy is very stable, and now General Bit has found a product that is more advanced than the fairy vine. General Bit shared the data of the Kyber crystal. After reading it, Lin Chen seemed to understand. This crystal is rhombus-shaped and blue, and it can be called a necessary product in the interstellar era. If the fairy vine can be compared to a candle with a very gentle flame, then this Kyber crystal can be compared to an electric light. As for the group of big bugs found, it is self-evident. There are no creatures or plants on this planet. Most likely, they survive by absorbing the energy of Kyber crystals. However, at this moment, a battle seemed to have taken place on General Bit's side. There were bursts of gunfire and explosions through the flat screen, and there were also some screams. On the screen, General Bit immediately shouted, "We are under attack, you should be careful." Then, he hurriedly hung up that video call. However, at this time, the battleship sent another message, and the more deadly one was the message from the artificial intelligence Red Queen. "Professor Lin Chen, a large number of creatures are moving towards you." "What creatures?" "Suspected to be creatures on this planet." Lin Chen did not question the Red Queen's feedback. After all, it has been discovered that there are big bugs on this planet, and the Jianmeng fleet is also under attack. So this planet is by no means a simple planet. Then, Lin Chen immediately notified the spacecraft entering the planet to prepare for battle. Immediately, the personnel entered the spacecraft one after another, and all the spacecraft entering the planet began to take off one after another. Looking down from above, dust was flying in the distance, and the ground was shaking slightly. Then came the swarm of insects. The endless swarm of insects came towards the direction of the fleet, but unfortunately the fleet had already taken off. Lin Chen said, "This planet is really not simple. It seems that the Jianmeng fleet should have been attacked by this kind of insects suddenly." After a while, the Empire's fleet entered outer space. They were not prepared to act rashly for the time being, and they were ready to investigate the planet first. The landing ship of the Jianmeng fleet also entered outer space. Lin Chen immediately contacted General Bit and asked, "What did you encounter?" General Bit said with a gloomy face, "Insects, flying in the sky, running on the ground, and big insects that drilled out from the ground, which could spray corrosive strong acid, caught us off guard." Later, neither fleet entered the planet again on a large scale, and even withdrew from the planet's orbit, preparing to investigate the origins of those insects first. As time went by, the two fleets had a deep understanding of this galaxy. The bugs on the planet are called archie-bugs. They are social bugs with clear division of labor among different species. Now, as long as the characteristics of all the bugs are investigated, it is time to launch a large-scale attack to plunder the Kyber ore. It's just that the process is a little slower. And this news gradually spread back to the Blue Star. The whole world was in an uproar. Have they found a material element that is more advanced than the fairy vine? For a time, the whole world began to actively prepare for war, ready to unite together to go to the depths of the starry sky to participate in the plunder of Kyber ore. After all, their power is not as strong as the Wang Zhen fleet and the Jianmeng fleet, so uniting together is the wisest choice. However, the British Sun Alliance is different. Because isn't the opportunity to show off here. Chapter 386. The United Army grabs wild monsters on the insect planet. This time, we can just use this opportunity to send the SYNOPSIS to the planet. The Wang Zhen fleet and the Jianmeng fleet are clearly cowards. They were scared by some big bugs and hid in space. They only used probes to explore the planet, so the exploration process was extremely slow. For this reason, they shamelessly boasted that those big bugs seemed to have some kind of wisdom and were ready to make a decision after fully understanding them. These were just to cover up their own cowardice. William and Naren laughed wildly after receiving this news. It seems that this is God's will for the SYNOPSIS to show their strength. On that day, the two immediately formulated a series of plans. Send the SYNOPSIS to the planet full of bugs. The joint fleet composed of the Azure Star led by the Sun Never Sets Alliance went to the planet to plunder the Kyber crystal. This time, we must not fall behind again. So, in order to be able to show its strength, the Sun Never Sets Alliance once again used the means it has always been good at. The Sun Tribe Alliance is preparing to go to the insect star. If you need to go together, please join us. The Sun Never Sets Alliance is determined to get the Kyber crystal. Since the Wangzhen fleet and the Jianmeng fleet are afraid of the mere big insects, then the Sun Never Sets Alliance will investigate the insect star. The Sun Never Sets Alliance is never afraid of challenges. For a time, countries around the Blue Star were included in the arms of the Sun Never Sets Alliance. After all, most of them were fleets composed of several spaceships, and they needed a leader too much. Since the Sun Never Sets Alliance publicly announced that it would go to the insect star, countries around the world had almost no hesitation and chose to follow the Sun Never Sets Alliance to form a fleet. 2 days later, another fleet approached the depths of the starry sky from the Blue Star, with the goal of the insect star discovered by the Wangzhen fleet and the Jianmeng fleet. This fleet was composed of fleets from all over the world, and the images of warships and spaceships were also varied. They all chose to plunder the Kyber crystal with the Sun Never Sets Alliance. This joint fleet arrived at the galaxy where it was located, and rushed straight to the insect star. In this regard, the Wangzhen fleet and the Jianmeng fleet had also tried to stop them, but they were despised instead. It's just a group of bugs. What wisdom! I've never heard that bugs can be intelligent. You can just wait in space for the news that we will eliminate all the bugs. Confidence. The joint fleet led by the British Union did not have the slightest tension of the upcoming battle with the bugs. This was the powerful force of the fleet, which gave them infinite confidence. Blind confidence. They felt that the joint fleet was invincible. What Wangzhen fleet, what Jianmeng fleet? They were actually scared by a group of bugs and hid in space. Since they're so afraid of bugs, then let's see how the joint fleet will show its skills and eliminate all the bugs in a gorgeous manner. Moreover, this is also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. An opportunity to show strength. The Wangzhen fleet and the Jianmeng fleet were afraid of the bugs and dared not enter the bug star to plunder the Kyber crystals. Instead, the joint fleet took the lead in plundering the Kyber crystals. This is definitely a way of showing strength. Afterwards, the Sun Never Sets Alliance led the combined fleet to enter the gravitational orbit of the insect star like a head of iron. They first sent out landing ships one after another to enter the interior of the insect star. After all, they are different from the Wangzhen Empire and the Jianmeng Empire. They have a lot of resources to back them up. Even so, large spacecraft rarely enter the interior of the planet. Because every time they enter and exit the atmosphere, they often consume a lot of immortal vine energy and energy ore from Pandora. Even resource-rich forces such as the Wangzhen Empire and the Jianmeng Empire try to avoid consuming a lot of energy, let alone these patchwork combined fleets. After a while, the head of the combined fleet landing ship entered the insect star. For the first time, they invested 100,000 troops. On the one hand, such a large-scale force is to avoid encountering some dangers, and on the other hand, it is to quickly seize and plunder the Kyber crystal. As soon as the densely packed landing ships landed, they opened the hatch, and all kinds of warriors poured out. They ran out with the most sophisticated equipment, while excitedly shouting all kinds of slogans. Charge! Kill! Kill! The morale was high. They wanted to kill bugs, plunder Kyber crystals, build military merits, and let the two cowards of the Wangzhen fleet and the Jianmeng fleet have a good look at the power of the Blue Star joint fleet. What bugs? Even if the 100,000-strong army was crushed, they could crush those bugs without any wisdom. They charged aimlessly. However, they soon discovered a cruel fact. Where is the Kyber crystal? Is it an underground crystal mine or something? It was like a basin of cold water poured on their heads, making the excited 100,000 troops no longer excited, and they felt that they had strength but nowhere to vent. A commander of the Sun Never Sets Alliance immediately contacted the Jianmeng fleet with a gloomy face. After all, the Kyber crystal was spread by them. If the Kyber crystal was not found, the Jianmeng Empire would have to pay a heavy price for their blind lies. The commander yelled at General Bit, "Where is the Kyber crystal?" The 100,000 troops behind him were his confidence. What Wangzhen fleet, what Jianmeng fleet, they are just two groups of rubbish. If you dare not obey, come to the insect planet and beat them. General Bit also roared, "Fuck, you bunch of idiots, didn't I say that we're exploring? Although we found a piece of Kyber crystal from the insect planet, we don't know this planet yet." The commander of the Sun Never Sets Alliance. But it doesn't matter, anyway, the coward Bib doesn't dare to calm down, and of course he can't lower his head again. The commander sneered. You bunch of cowards, wait and eat our leftovers in the back. New hatred and long-standing hatred are settled together. Soon, under the leadership of the commander of the Sun Never Sets Alliance, 100,000 troops launched a mighty search and exploration work on the insect planet. However, after a while, they encountered the Arachi insect. Everyone, look, that's the Arachi bug. How funny, 2 large fleets are afraid of these things? Our 100,000 strong combined army can crush all the creatures on this planet to death even if we have to. The 100,000 strong army talked and laughed, full of confidence. They didn't feel any danger. The Arachi bugs running towards them were quite large and fast, but compared to the 100,000 strong army, they seemed too weak, clearly coming to deliver food. As dozens of Arachi bugs approached, every soldier in the combined army of Azure Star showed deep excitement on their faces. It was as if those Arachi bugs were not bugs at all, but a group of beautiful girls stripped naked rushing towards them. It seemed that they had to feel what it meant to be passionate. Charge, kill. The densely packed soldiers rushed towards the Arachi bugs. 222 the 100,000 strong army began to fight for the wild monsters and rushed to shoot with guns. Even though the Arachi bugs' defenses were amazing, they were quickly shot into pieces by the 100,000 strong coalition army. 10 minutes later, hundreds of Arachi bugs were wiped out, and the coalition army generally felt that they had not yet achieved enough. Chapter 387. Handsome for only 3 seconds. Of course, the army of 100,000 people was not happy about fighting for hundreds of Arachi bugs. Only these bugs? Too few, not enough to fight. With this 100,000 strong joint army, we can crush this bug planet even if we have to. The soldiers kept complaining. The effortless elimination of a group of bugs immediately made the confidence of this army that had just landed extremely inflated. What kind of Arachi bugs, so weak and fragile, can actually scare away the Wangzhen fleet and the Jianmeng fleet? Cowardly, they are really cowardly. At the moment, the soldiers urgently hope that there will be more bugs, and of course it is better to be stronger, otherwise there will be not enough to fight. However, just as they kept complaining, the Arachi bugs on this planet clearly showed a trend of wisdom. Not long after the vanguard troops tested, more Arachi bugs soon appeared. Now the 100,000 strong joint army no longer needs to fight for wild monsters, and they excitedly pulled the trigger and attacked the swarm of bugs. Well, it's so satisfying, so satisfying. These bugs are so cool. Ha ha ha, it's fun when so many bugs come out. The soldiers shouted excitedly. However, this time, the number of Arachi bugs that appeared was not more, but a lot, and they appeared from all directions. At first, it was okay to be at a certain distance, and the soldiers laughed and expressed their inner heroism. But as the Arachi bugs kept approaching without fear of death, the soldiers of the coalition army could not laugh at all. The claws and teeth of these Arachi bugs were very sharp. As long as they were close to the soldiers, they would use their claws or teeth to pierce the soldiers' bodies, or cut them in half. The battle changed from easy to solemn. One soldier after another died, and there were limbs and broken bodies everywhere. The corpses of humans mixed with the corpses of Arachi bugs covered the entire land. Half an hour later, the Arachi bugs were completely wiped out, and the coalition army also lost the lives of hundreds of soldiers. After half an hour of high mental concentration, the surviving soldiers immediately fell to the ground and gasped for air without caring about their image after the battle. At this time, the commander sent by the Sun Never Sets Alliance seemed to have thought of something and immediately shouted, "Where is the filming and recording team?" In order to demonstrate its strength, the Sun Never Sets Alliance also adopted filming methods to record everything that happened on the insect star and eventually show it to the entire Azure Star. Previously, when fighting with the Arachi insects, they could not take care of the few burdens carrying cameras, but now that the battle was over, for this commander, he must find that filming and recording team. Even if people died, it would be fine to find that camera. After all, it recorded how the Sun Never Sets Alliance led humans to eliminate insects. Here, several filming and recording teams soon appeared in front of him. After a confirmation, the commander was relieved. The scene of the battle just now had been recorded. If these were transmitted back to the Azure Star, they would definitely be able to show the strength of the Sun Tribal Alliance. The filming was perfect, but it's a pity, the commander said with regret. Several members of the filming and recording team were puzzled. The commander said, "Our 12 sons have not yet appeared in the battle. If they appear in the battle, it will be really perfect." However, just after he finished speaking, the tornado-like slap in the face came, so fast that everyone was caught off guard. because a technical soldier shouted loudly. Just now the command ship sent another message, claiming that a larger scale of Iraq bugs are approaching, let us retrieve quickly. The commander was suddenly startled and quickly issued an order to retreat. However, this place is still several kilometers away from the landing ship, and the joint army began to retreat hastily. Before, they used to dislike the bugs for being too few, but now there are more, and they immediately retreated in the direction of the landing ship with dust on their faces. However, it was still a step too late. A group of Iraq bugs mysteriously appeared and blocked the retreat. The joint army was forced to fight again. After once again destroying thousands of Iraq bugs that were intercepted, the army of Iraq bugs appeared. They appeared continuously, and it was difficult to see the end at a glance. What's more deadly is that flying bugs appeared in the sky, and they were extremely fast. The joint army. Oh, there are so many bugs. Suddenly, almost every soldier wanted to slap himself a few times. Why did he have to talk too much before, complaining that there were too few bugs to kill? Now that so many have come at once, how can he fight? It's not that the coalition army will crush them, but these big bugs can crush all the coalition army even if they are crushed. The commander instantly understood why the Wang Xin fleet and the Jianmeng fleet had to wait until they knew everything about the bug star before making any decisions. He immediately shouted loudly, "Everyone, retrieve quickly." At the same time, he quickly contacted the landing ship to enter combat status. However, the speed of human legs running could not possibly shake off the speed of the Arachi bugs. The distance between the two sides was getting closer and closer, and soon there were tragic deaths of soldiers. The flying bugs in the sky were extremely fast, like a large flying mantis, with two front claws like the sickle of the god of death, extremely sharp. Every time they dived, a soldier would be cut in half, and even worse, he would be beheaded. The Arachi bugs running on the ground also arrived at the rear of the coalition army and started a bloody massacre. Da-222 the soldiers fought while retreating, but it was useless. After killing one Iraq bug, 3 or more would immediately appear behind and tear the soldiers to pieces. Shooting, rockets, and bombs were not very effective, unless heavy weapons with a wide range were effective and could clear a vacuum zone. Gradually, a mighty retrieve turned into a rout. As people ran in panic, they screamed and howled. "Run! Mom, I don't want to die yet. Someone save me, my legs are gone." The situation was extremely tragic. 100,000 coalition troops rushed out of the landing ship with murderous intent, showing off their coolness, but they were only cool for 3 seconds. They had only explored a few kilometers of this insect planet, and in an instant they were beaten into idiots by the continuous Iraq bug army. It can be said that they were paying a heavy price for their blind self-confidence. If they had listened to the obstruction of the Wang Xin fleet or the Jianmeng fleet at the beginning, perhaps after investigating the insect planet clearly, they would not have fled now before entering the insect planet. At the moment, the landing ship is taking off. It will take some time to wait for the heavy firepower support, and the coalition army is still suffering from the slaughter of the Arachis. But at this moment, the 12 saints in the coalition army stopped running and decided not to sit and wait for death. As saints, they are the embodiment of justice and will never allow humans to be slaughtered by alien life. Suddenly, a sacred sense of mission was added. An invisible force surged into their hearts, making them have an invincible winning mentality. Fighting spirit began to rise. In this case, transformation. Inserting both hands into the sensei armor box, the covering armor began to quickly wrap the whole body. At the same time, the spacecraft received the signal and immediately lowered 12 golden light beams with divine brilliance to cover the 12 saints wearing golden armor. This series of transformation scenes made many soldiers around subconsciously stop and reveal a look of surprise. Yes, with the 12 golden saints here, there is no need to be afraid of the Arachis. So, why do we have to retreat? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 388 The Performance Show at the Gold Saint. Seeing the 12 gold saints all showing confident expressions, they slowly walked towards the rear of the coalition army. Their gait was extremely steady, as if they were not about to face the ferocious Arachis, but a group of small ants waiting to be crushed. With such powerful saints on their side, what else did the coalition army have to fear? Morale rose suddenly, from the freezing point to the peak in a very short time. At this moment, the coalition army unconsciously made way for the 12 saints in golden armor to go to the rear of the coalition army to eliminate the Urachais. So cool. As expected of the saints, they are invincible. It must be very easy for the most powerful armor in history to eliminate the mere Urachais. The soldiers were no longer afraid of the Urachais that were constantly hunting humans. At this moment, they had only one thought in their hearts. The 12 gold saints, so cool. At this moment, the 12 gold saints smiled at the corners of their mouths and moved to the rear with confidence to fight the Urachais. Yes, that's the feeling, it's great. As the protagonist of mankind, he should be the focus of the whole scene like this. What, Lin Chen, that kind of trash can save the world, so how difficult is it for me, as a gold saint, to eliminate the Urachais? Confidence. This is the endless blind confidence that the Saint Seiya armor brings to the 12 saints. It's just a group of Urachais. Even if there are 10 or 100 times more, as the saints who protect the love and peace of the earth, they can still turn all these bugs upside down. When the commander of the coalition saw this scene, his expression was immediately delighted. How could I forget about the Saint Seiya? He immediately shouted, "Photographer, quickly shoot and record our Saint Seiya." The appearance of the Saint Seiya must be recorded. Record the Saint Seiya showing gorgeous moves with his weak body to defeat the Urachais. The 5 photographers of the shooting and recording group immediately aimed the camera at the 12 Saint Seiya wearing golden armor. Dear audience, please look, our Saint Seiya defends the dignity of mankind with his upright body. This is the posture of a celestial being. The facts tell us that the Saint Seiya has become justice and will destroy the evil forces. For a while, all kinds of writing continued, and the photographers boasted from time to time. At this time, just as the photographers were taking pictures and recording, the 12 gold saints made a brilliant appearance. They jumped up one after another and jumped into the rear of the coalition army. With their weak bodies, they turned into a natural moat about 100 meters long, separating the Urachais from continuing to hunt the soldiers of the coalition army. Many soldiers sincerely exclaimed in shock. Cool. Urachais. Shocked. What is this thing, so dazzling? Immediately, the surging Urachais attack was temporarily suspended. Seeing this scene, the soldiers were even more ecstatic. Wow, you are worthy at being a Saint Seiya. You actually scared the ferocious Urachais. Cool, the most powerful armor in history is really not exaggerated. Awesome, with the 12 gold saints here, it will be easy to conquer this planet by force. At this moment, the 12 gold saints all showed sneers on their faces. That's right. This is the effect they want, this is the effect of being the protagonist. Hearing the exclamations of the warriors behind them, it was as if invisible forces were pouring into their bodies, making them stronger. What Urachais, they are just garbage. Endless confidence surged in the hearts of the 12 gold saints, and then they began to attack. Leo Gold Saint Aeolia roared, "Take my lion's fang." He quickly swung his fists with both hands, and used the energy at the fairy vine to transform into a golden light fist phantom within a range of 10 meters in front of him, and from time to time, golden thunder flashed in this space. Suddenly, several Urachais within a range of 10 meters in front were hammered to pieces. But soon, several more Urachais swarmed into this space and attacked Aeolia, raising their sharp front claws as if ready to pierce the human's chest. But Aeolia, as a gold saint, was not afraid at all, and shouted again, "This is the final blow." A virtual star map immediately appeared behind him, connected by a ray of light into a vivid lion, as if it was about to jump out of the virtual image. At the same time, his right fist was also swung out with force, and a bright golden light flashed from the front of his right fist, converging into a beam of energy rushing forward. This was an energy beam formed by the huge energy at the fairy vine, with a power that seemed to be able to destroy everything, and it smashed the Urachais 100 meters in front into powder. At this moment, other saints also launched attacks. One day I shot it through. The Sagittarius Saint roared, and the metal bow in his hand pulled the arrow string, shooting arrows formed by energy. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Arrows with golden light fell from the sky with sharp sounds and landed in the army of Urachais. Boom, boom. The sound of explosions continued to rise and fall, and countless Urachais were blown into countless pieces. The other gold saints also opened various big moves. The army of Urachais, which had come with great momentum, also showed signs of fatigue under the attack of the 12 gold saints. The 12 gold saints, wearing golden armor, seemed like gods descended to the world, and kept using various big moves to kill the army of Urachais. Take my lion's fang. The saints will always protect the love and peace of the earth. The saints will always inherit the will to protect. You won't even have a 1 in 10,000 chance of winning. The confidence of the 12 synths was unprecedented, and they kept saying the second-year lines. Various special effects would appear behind each attack. Cool to the extreme. Handsome to the extreme. Can the armors of the Wangzhe Empire and Jianmeng Empire perform such sharp attacks? Can they perform such cool special attacks? No. Only the most powerful sensei in history can do it. Perhaps this is the legendary protagonist Halo. Of course, the disadvantage of doing so is that it consumes a lot of energy. But the 12 sensei don't care about this at all. Even if the energy is used up, the spacecraft outside this insect star can replenish the sensei armor in time. What are you afraid of? It seems that they are just afraid that these Arachi insects are too weak and not strong enough to fight. At this time, the 100,000 coalition troops all showed a look of horror, and were horrified by the strength of the sensei. People never thought that the sensei would be so terrifying. Strong, too strong. It's worthy at being a sensei, worthy at being the strongest armor in history. It's really not exaggerated. Look at the special effects, it's amazing. The morale of the soldiers was high, and they all joined the battle with guns. With such a powerful sensei, it seems that it is only a matter of time to eliminate these ugly insects. At this time, the commander of the coalition army shouted excitedly, well done, our Sons of the Sun Never Sets Alliance should show their true strength and let those cowards from outer space see what it means to crush them. As soon as the work fell, the commander of the coalition army thought of a brilliant idea. A good idea to show strength. At the moment, the two cowards of the Wangzhe fleet and the Jianmeng fleet have no idea what is happening here, so they must take a good look at the real strength of the Sun Never Sets Alliance. Chapter 389. Full of confidence, the commander of the Sun Never Sets Alliance thought about it and felt that it made sense. Before, the Wangzhe Empire and the Jianmeng Empire were afraid of the strength of the Suns and did not dare to participate in the Atlantic armor competition. Now they have become cowards and dare not come to the Bug Star. But the Sun Never Sets Alliance is different. The Suns have already killed all sides here. It is absolutely necessary to show those cowards what happened here. When he thought of this, he immediately contacted the Wangzhe fleet and the Jianmeng fleet. With the technical support of the technical soldiers, the video connection function was realized. The commander spoke confidently. Hello, you are scared by a group of bugs and hid in space. What's so scary about bugs? Look, the joint army is now destroying the Arachi bugs. The video was aimed at the back. Because of the participation of the Saints, the joint army has recovered its disadvantage and formed an indestructible line of defense with the Suns as the outpost. Lin Chen and General Bit. See, our joint army is destroying the bugs. It's just a group of bugs. Maybe only cowards will feel scared. The commander of the Sun Never Sets Alliance was sarcastic again. Lin Chen said, we are not afraid, but we have not investigated the origin of the bugs and the whereabouts of the Kyber crystal. Instead of fighting the bugs all the time on the bug planet, it is better to wait in space to investigate it clearly. The commander of the Sun Never Sets Alliance sneered. What origin can a group of big bugs have? Well, no more words. Since you are so cowardly, let's see how we conquer this planet. Worrying about the origin of the bugs? Being cowardly is being cowardly. It is ridiculous to make up such a fresh and refined lie to cover up the fact that you are timid and guilty. Later, the commander of the Sun Never Sets Alliance still told the Wangzhe fleet and the Jianmeng fleet everything that happened here, in order to achieve the purpose of demonstrating strength. Soon after, the commander received a message that the landing ship came to support. The commander shouted on the intercom, no support is needed. The battle scene here is being sent to the Wangzhe fleet and the Jianmeng fleet. If the landing ship comes to support, using heavy firepower is not a demonstration of strength. Many soldiers also agreed with the commander's order. A mere group of bugs actually need the heavy firepower support of a landing ship? Absolutely not. This is a stigma against the Gold Saints. As time went on, one after another of the Arachi bugs were killed, but they seemed to be endless, and there was no sign of them becoming scarce. After such a long battle, the energy at the 12 Gold Saints was more than half consumed. At this rate, it would take about 10 minutes to replenish their energy. Thinking of the special effects of replenishing energy, 12 golden light pillars fell from the sky, and the Saints were excited, because that was the most pretentious time. In this case, the special effects of the ultimate move were used even more freely, with the purpose of quickly consuming energy so that the spacecraft outside the atmosphere could once again launch the energy at the fairy vine. Cool. However, they had no idea that at this time, there was a variable in the gravitational orbit outside the atmosphere of the insect star. A series of azure plasma beams were like blue flames, launching from the insect star into space, heading towards the joint fleets headed by the Sun Tribal Alliance. Seeing this scene, the three fleets in space were somewhat unresponsive. All the people in the Wangxian fleet and Jianmeng fleet who had been observing the insect planet in outer space. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. What the hell is this? A planet of insects actually has the ability to send certain energy substances out of the atmosphere. The joint fleet led by the British Sun Alliance did not respond in the opposite way. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Isn't it a planet of insects? How can it show its technological side? But even though they thought so, hundreds of spaceships in the joint fleet led by the British Sun Alliance were already in chaos. The spaceships frequently sent messages to the command ship of the British Sun Alliance. A plasma beam appeared inside the planet. The captain in the command ship immediately issued an order. Notify your ships to immediately exit the gravity orbit of the insect planet. After a while, the joint fleet immediately began to leave the orbit and prepared to withdraw to a place not far from the Wangxian fleet and the Jianmeng fleet. As for the 100,000 vanguard troops that entered the insect planet, they were no longer considered at all. The most urgent thing was to preserve the spaceships. However, the speed of the combined fleet was still a little slow. When the plasma beam emitted by the insect star hit the spaceship, it almost caused the hull to suffer heavy damage. After all, this is a fleet composed of some weak forces. It is good to have a spaceship. As for the advanced goods such as energy shields, a large amount of advanced materials such as fairy vines are needed as energy support. Unfortunately, most of the spaceships of these combined fleets do not have energy shields, otherwise they would not have bravely crossed the vast starry sky to plunder the Kyber crystals. So after more than a dozen spaceships were destroyed, the combined fleet finally escaped from the gravitational orbit of the insect star in a mess. This time, they dare not be careless again. The combined fleet led by the Sun Never-Sets Alliance was parked not far from the Wangxi Empire, ready to wait for the insect star to stop ejecting plasma beams and then return to pick up the ground troops entering the planet. At this moment, the ground forces of the combined army on the insect star are still confidently shooting at the Arachi insect army. The reason for their confidence is that they have a trump card, and the fleet docked in space is their trump card. However, this joint fleet did not know that the fleet in space had been hit hard by the plasma beam and had already left the insect star. As time went by, the energy at the 12 gold cents was about to be exhausted. They did not panic at all. After dealing with the erect bugs in the area in front of them, they pressed the energy signal receivers one after another. According to previous training, what would happen next would be that within 5 seconds, the spacecraft in space would drop 12 dazzling beams of light. The 12 gold cents posed in familiar shapes in front of the soldiers' astonished eyes, welcoming the energy beams that came down from the sky. Suddenly, a breeze blew, ruffling their hair, making these cents in golden armor even more cool and compelling. The soldiers of the joint army exclaimed, "Cool." As a result, the wind stopped. After about 10 seconds, the sky was still the same as before, and there was no abnormality at all. Instead, the army of erect bugs surged up again, as if they would not stop until they killed all the humans. The 12 gold cents were embarrassed and panicked, because without the immortal vine energy launched by the spacecraft, the cent armor was nothing. This time, they turned on the energy signal receiver very seriously, but there was still no change in the sky. Everyone was dumbfounded. Where is the energy? Right now, it is the most critical moment. If a malfunction suddenly occurs at this time, causing the cents to lose energy, it will be fatal. How can the joint army fight the Arachi's insect army? At this time, Leo Santeolia was very unwilling and roared, "Explode, little universe!" However, it was of no use. The expected immortal vine energy did not come. Immediately after the joint fleet reorganized, it sent a message. The fleet encountered a large number of plasma beams. The fleet is now far away from the insect star and cannot provide any protection for the time being. I wish you all good luck. Chapter 390 The Demonetize of the Grasshopper. Everyone in the coalition army. They were all shocked. The spaceship was actually scared away. People looked at the 12 cents eagerly, waiting for them to kill everyone again. After the commander of the coalition army contacted the landing ship again to take off for support, he issued an order to retreat. However, the soldiers all scoffed at this order. What a joke, with the cents around, would they be afraid of a mere Arachi bug? As long as the cents recover their energy, they can still beat these bugs into shit. The commander of the coalition army looked at the soldiers who were unmoved, as if they were expecting the suns to explode again. He secretly thought that things were going to go in a bad direction. Sure enough, pretending to be cool will eventually backfire. The plan was good, as long as it was not told to others. No one would know that the reason why the Sensei armor was so powerful was actually because it needed a spaceship for logistical support. Now, it seems that he has to bite the bullet and explain. The commander said on the intercom. The energy at the Sensei is provided by the spaceship. Now the spaceship is not in the orbit of the insect planet. Everyone, retrieve quickly, retrieve to the direction of the landing ship. His words were transmitted to the ears of every soldier through the intercom. The atmosphere on the scene changed immediately. Many people were shocked. So the reason why the Saints are so powerful is because they need a spaceship to provide protection for the Saints. What kind of Saints are these? It feels like it's unnecessary to create such a thing. Isn't it better to just send a spaceship when there is a combat mission? One of the soldiers shouted loudly. Everyone, run quickly. Before, the 12 Saints were like 12 gods, blocking the vast majority of Rachais, but after learning the truth of the matter, people could no longer have any expectations for the Saints. The Saints were just bluffing. At least people knew that the Yamors of the Wangzhe Empire and the Jianmeng Empire did not need spaceships as a guarantee and could form a separate branch of the army. However, the Saints of the British Union were different. They actually needed a spaceship to act as a nanny all the time. Then the rout began again. People ran for their lives and cursed. Damn, we were deceived by the bastards of the British Union. What Sensei is the strongest armor? It's obviously garbage. Fake, all fake. The Sensei armor needs a spaceship to provide energy guarantee. What's the use? Wouldn't it be better to send a spaceship directly? The British Union will do anything to show off. If you say that you have never won a fight and never lost a fight, you must talk about the Saints of the British Union. The cool way of appearance comes with special effects, which gives people a sense of invincibility both visually and sensorially. It seems to be a sure win, but after losing energy, all the truth comes out, and it also ruthlessly overturns. What Sensei is the strongest armor? If someone says this again in the future, they will be the first to disagree. The Sensei armor is clearly garbage among garbage. Later, the soldiers staged a panic retreat and rushed towards the battleship. This was a real defeat. The Urachais continued to hunt the soldiers, and every second a soldier died under the sharp front claws of the Urachais. After a long time, the soldiers finally entered the landing ship and began to take off one after another. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh one after another, the battleships took off and moved away from this dangerous area. However, after flying up, everyone felt extremely heavy. Looking down from the landing ship, there were dense Urachais within a range of at least 10 kilometers, and there were still these big bugs gathering in the distance. An officer holding a telescope seemed to have discovered something and exclaimed, "Wait, what is that?" Looking into the distance, you can see some bigger bugs. Those bugs look like huge katydids, at least 20 meters in size, dark blue in color, and the most obvious thing was that when their huge abdomens glowed with blue light, they emitted blue flames that sprayed into the sky until they disappeared. The soldiers on the landing ship were horrified. It should be this kind of thing that attacked the spacecraft. Why do I feel cheated? The tactics are clear. How can there be a sense of intelligent creatures? Regardless of whether it was a huge army of bugs attacking the coalition army before, a new species of bugs has now appeared. From the surface phenomenon, their division of labor is very clear. Everyone was wrong and careless, and they rushed in without investigating the whereabouts of the Kyber crystal. Of course, it would be fine if the spacecraft with the power to destroy the world entered the interior of the planet. However, in order to save energy, the many fleets led by the British Alliance only sent ground landing troops to conquer the planet. However, because the alien creatures look like bugs, they are considered to be low-level creatures. At the moment, it seems that these bugs are not low-level creatures. They are real advanced intelligent creatures, but they have evolved in a different direction from humans. The commander also discovered a group of blue katydids on the bare ground in the distance, so he gave an order. Fly forward and conduct a close-range exploration of those creatures that are similar to the katydids. Since we were careless before, we should investigate the information of this weak like the Wangzhe fleet. After a while, when the landing ship of the joint army was about to fly near the blue katydids, we once again had a better understanding of these large insects. Rather than saying they are katydids, these insects are more like blue flower buds, which emit blue flames into the sky through contraction and compression. and near these blue large reorganizations, there are many insects running on the ground and flying in the sky. It seems that these insects are here to protect these big katydids and flower bugs. The commander wondered to himself, what kind of planet is this? It completely subverted cognition. It seems that the fighting power of these insects is even more advanced than that of the mimic aliens. You know, even the careless United Army led by the British Sun Alliance should not be underestimated. In short, the fact that they can beat the careless United Army into a dog has fully demonstrated that these insects have strong fighting power. However, at this time, it seems that the big grasshoppers on the ground that are constantly emitting blue flames into space seem to have discovered the landing ships of the United Army. They slowly moved their feet, turned around, and aimed their huge abdomens at the landing ships, revealing a part that looks like a buttocks. There is a dark hole at the end, like a devil's eye, staring deeply at the landing ships in the sky. Chapter 391 Bombing the Insect Planet. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Blue rays of light were ejected from the abdomen of the blue grasshopper through squeezing and spraying blue flames towards the landing ships of the coalition army. Quickly retreat. The landing ships of the coalition army immediately fled in disgrace to avoid the attacks of these blue flames. It was not until these landing ships finally recovered that they began to counterattack. A crushing counterattack. Perhaps the lack of force of the ground forces could not effectively kill these bugs, but these landing ships carrying ground forces were different. Although they did not have many weapons, they carried high explosive missiles to support the ground forces. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Missiles with thick tail flames were launched from the landing ships and smashed towards the big bugs on the ground. Boom, boom, boom. The explosion range of the ground was extremely wide. After all, this was a landing ship group carrying 100,000 coalition troops. Even if each landing ship launched a high explosive missile, it would be enough to clear the bugs in this area. This is the importance of occupying their superiority. As long as humans recover, they can show the power of technology and accurately strike these disgusting insects at any place and at any time. On the ground, after the explosion, it was already a mess, and it was difficult to see any insects on the ground. However, the locusts flying in the sky like flying mantises were not affected. They attacked the landing ships. Their sharp front claws were no longer facing the flesh and blood of humans, but the landing ships made of duplex alloys that could withstand high temperature pressure and pressure resistance. Ding ding ding. Even so, the landing ship still made a sharp collision sound. Under the attack of the sharp front claws of those locusts, the hull was also shriveled a lot, but fortunately, the toughness of the hull was not something these insects could contend with. After dealing with the insects on the ground, the landing ships set their sights on these flying insects. Fire. The landing ships opened fire, and the sound of explosions rose and fell again. Even the bugs that had previously hunted the Allied forces were not spared, and the landing fleet turned around and killed them again. When the explosion stopped, there was no living creature within sight, and the landing fleet called the Allied fleet outside the space. After a long time, the landing fleet sent by the Allied fleet successfully returned to the Allied fleet after dealing with the bugs. According to preliminary statistics, the 100,000 Allied ground forces sent out eliminated a large number of bugs within 2 hours with the heavy firepower of the landing fleet, but they also lost more than 30,000 soldiers because of carelessness, listening to the saints, etc. The number of 100,000 Allied ground forces was almost reduced by half after returning to the Allied fleet. Before, they rushed into the bug star with great momentum, wishing to directly wash the entire planet with blood by force, but in the end, due to various factors, they were beaten by the bugs and fled back in disgrace. Heavy. The atmosphere in the Allied fleet was extremely heavy. You must know that the official combat personnel of the 3rd Allied fleet of the Wangxi Empire is only more than 70,000 soldiers. But the combined fleet lost more than 30,000 soldiers in just 2 hours. The commander of the combined fleet was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. The British Alliance sent the most spaceships and soldiers because of their leadership and because they could plunder more kyber crystals. But they never expected that they would be defeated as soon as they arrived at the insect star. After a calculation, it was found that the British Alliance suffered the greatest loss. What's more terrible is that 7 gold suns disappeared on the insect star at once. It can be basically concluded that the 7 suns had met with an accident. The commander of the British Alliance became more and more angry. So many people were killed by a group of insects. More than a dozen spaceships were severely damaged by a group of insects. Even if there are various factors involved, it is absolutely unacceptable. This is a great shame. The commander shouted loudly, "Come on, aim all the weapons of the combined fleet at the insect star and bomb the insect star to the maximum extent." Suddenly, the weapon systems of the combined fleet were turned on. They want to regain their lost dignity. Seeing this scene, both the Wangxin fleet and the Jianmeng fleet were shocked. What was the combined fleet going to do? Why did they turn on the weapon system? Then, they immediately contacted them. The three fleets held talks via video call. General Bid, the commander of the Jianmeng fleet, first asked, "Commander Ryan, what are you going to do by suddenly turning on the weapon system?" The commander of the combined fleet led by the British Alliance is a commander named Ryan. He is also that commander who led the ground forces to rush into the insect star. Now he has returned in disgrace, and of course he wants revenge. He said righteously, "Bomb the insect planet, to avenge the dead soldiers and to restore the dignity of mankind, so I will destroy those hateful insects to the greatest extent." The screen in front of Lin Chen showed the figures of General Bit and Ryan. When he heard the latter's angry threat to bomb the insect planet, he immediately said, "You are crazy." General Bit also said, "I absolutely do not allow you to bomb the insect planet." Ryan said, "Why, it's just a group of insects, you don't allow me to bomb it." Although the dispute between the Wangxi Empire and the Jianmeng Empire is a long-standing problem, it is precisely because of this that they can see the situation more clearly than anyone else when facing common interests. Lin Chen immediately said, "We can't bomb the insect planet now." General Bit echoed, saying, "I reminded you before, but you didn't believe it. Now you have to bomb the insect planet because you have suffered a loss." "Then what about the Kyber crystal?" Ryan's head was cold. Lin Chen said, "The current evidence shows that there are Kyber crystals on the insect planet, but it is not clear where the crystals are. What if the area you are bombing happens to contain Kyber crystals?" After hearing this, Ryan immediately had the idea of retreating. They came all the way to plunder the Kyber crystals. If it turns out to be just as Lin Chen said, wouldn't that be bad? Later, Ryan immediately issued an order to terminate the bombing of the insect planet, and joined the Wangxin fleet and the Jianmeng fleet to send a large number of probes to the insect planet in the safest way, preparing to remotely survey the insect planet, the galaxy to which the insect planet belongs, the satellites, and even the meteorites in the galaxy. And all of this is for a new material element that is more advanced than the immortal vine, that is, the Kyber crystal. This time, with the participation of the joint fleet led by the Sun Never Sets Alliance, the exploration mission for this strange galaxy will be much faster. The three fleets rarely contacted each other except for the information on the exploration results. Over time, and with the three fleets working for the same interests, it has become common for them to coordinate with each other, and even everyone, including Lin Chen, has almost chosen to turn a blind eye. The goal was to investigate the galaxy as quickly as possible and find the whereabouts of the Kyber crystal. So, in order to get the desired results, the ships of the three fleets flew around this planet or the planet all day long in this galaxy. But it didn't take long, or rather, as time went by, with the unremitting efforts of the three fleets, they had a better understanding of this galaxy full of habitable planets. Chapter 392. Prepared to take advantage of the fire. The data report about the galaxy where the insect star is located was eventually shared by the three fleets. It is better to say that this galaxy is a bug galaxy. There are a total of 5 life planets, but all of them have found direct bugs, and even the meteorite zone has accidentally discovered a large number of hidden bug eggs. At this moment, the bug galaxy is full of exploration devices from the three fleets. Through investigation, we have a good understanding of bugs, and finally divide the bugs into several categories. War bugs. Common combat units, covered with thick shells, are perfect killing tools. They have no independent consciousness, almost no intelligence, and can't feel pain. Their existence seems to be only for the safety of the population. Migratory locusts. This flying unit is well known to the coalition army like war bugs. If a soldier is not careful, he will be beheaded by this high-speed flying bug. Tank beetle. A large bug hidden underground, it can spray high-temperature corrosive liquid from its head. This liquid is mixed in a cavity in its abdomen, and then the contraction of the abdominal muscles squeezes the cavity to spray the liquid out. Giant plasma worm. The giant plasma worm is suspected to have evolved from the tank beetle, and its abdomen appears abnormally large. Like the tank beetle, it can synthesize a high-temperature corrosive liquid in its abdomen. The difference is that the plasma worm synthesizes more and more dangerous substances. Because the liquid it synthesizes looks like a dazzling blue, this one is called a plasma worm. At the beginning, it was mistaken by the British Alliance as a high-temperature plasma beam. The plasma worm is suspected to be a long-range fire support unit. If it is launched into the sky, the huge kinetic energy can shoot plasma into space and attack human warships in the planetary orbit. However, how these plasma worms aim is still unknown. Some researchers speculate that these worms should have a similar existence to the brainworm. Other researchers speculate that the reason why these aracworms can occupy this galaxy may also be due to the plasma worms. The powerful muscles in their abdomens can launch spores carrying the swarm genes to other planets. Brainworm. After a series of speculations and observations, the three fleets of Wang Xin, Jian Meng, and Neverset Sunday generally believed that there was an unknown species of insect coordinating the actions of the entire insect swarm behind the scenes. This species should be the brainworm of the Arachi insect. The above are all the results of the three fleets' investigation of the insect galaxy in recent times, and Kyber crystals have also been found, but not many, but it can be basically concluded that the insect galaxy has a large number of Kyber crystals. As for where these super-energy substances are located, there are only two places that have not been explored. One is the nest of the insects, and the other is underground. After reading these reports, Lin Chen pondered for a while and said, "Red Queen, contact all the captains of the fleet." After a while, a conference room appeared one after another with nearly 100 captains of large and small spaceships of the fleet with virtual images. After everyone arrived, Lin Chen said, "Have you read the report just summarized?" "Yes." Lin Chen said, "In 48 hours, land on Bug Planet No. 1 and carry out excavation. There are 5 planets in the Bug Galaxy, all of which are occupied by bugs, so they are named Bug Planet No. 1 and Bug Planet No. 2. Everyone. The Empire's fleet traveled through the vast starry sky to this galaxy and stayed there for hundreds of hours again, just to dig a hole." However, everyone did not question Lin Chen's words too much. After all, Lin Chen's identity was quite special. Just 24 hours later, when the three fleets were about to set off for Bug Planet No. 1, they suddenly received a huge signal. It was a signal from outside the Bug Galaxy, a huge radio wave. After analysis, the three fleets immediately concluded that this was a fleet signal. The signals that were inadvertently deciphered often contained words such as Bug Planet, Bug, and Federation. What does this mean? The three fleets of Wang Xin, Jian Meng and Neverset immediately terminated their plan to go to the insect star. From the radio waves that were getting closer and closer, it could be inferred that this newly appeared fleet was also heading for the insect star. As for why they came to the insect star, it was not difficult to guess. The insect star had Kyber crystal, a super material that made any civilization jealous. The three fleets immediately began a brief consultation. General Bit suggested, "Drive that fleet away. No matter whether the other party is human or non-human creatures, as long as it is not the fleet of Azure Star, it will definitely be attacked first before affecting everyone's interests. After all, this galaxy has been privately owned by Azure Star. What's more, even if they fight, General Bit has enough confidence to win a cosmic war in the vast starry sky. Lin Chen is more inclined to exchange the smallest cost for the greatest benefit." After careful consideration, he proposed, "Even if we go to the insect planet, there is still a certain danger, and we don't know the exact whereabouts of the Kyber crystal. Wouldn't it be better to let them find that Kyber crystal for us?" General Bit sneered and insisted on his point of view that force would solve all problems. He said, "What if the other party doesn't agree to find it for us?" Lin Chen said, "From the radio waves, we can infer that the other party's spacecraft is not very advanced. We can hide and observe from the dark. When the other party finds the Kyber crystal, or when the other party loads it on the ship and prepares to take it away, we can appear and take advantage of the fire. Isn't it perfect?" The commander of the British Sun Alliance immediately gave a thumbs up to the screen and said with an exaggerated smile, "Great, great, it's really great. Now the whole week is filled with a large number of exploration devices, isn't it, just to observe this unknown fleet from the dark?" The three fleets behind are following Lin Chen's suggestion and are ready to use the detectors that are almost everywhere in the galaxy for secret monitoring. It doesn't matter if the other party finds it. At the time, according to General Bit's plan, all problems will be solved directly by force. Soon, the three fleets left the Bug Galaxy and secretly monitored a fleet that was about to arrive in the vast galaxy. After a long time, the fleet that the three fleets had been waiting for finally arrived. Through the real-time images sent back by the detector attached to the meteorite, the spacecraft of this fleet was not too advanced, and there was not even any energy weapon. At this moment, the radio waves in the Bug Galaxy were even stronger. In the Wang Xin fleet, the artificial intelligence Red Queen had been processing the radio waves between the spacecrafts communicating with each other. After many decodings, Red Queen finally sorted out and decoded several useful messages. Red Queen suddenly appeared beside Lin Chen and said, "Professor Lin, the other party's message has been decoded." Lin Chen said, "Let it out and see what kind of creatures the other party's fleet is." A large screen suddenly lit up in front of him, and the detector sent back the picture of the bug galaxy. The 5 ecological planets were very magnificent, but unfortunately they were all planets full of bugs. From the picture, we can also see that dozens of spaceships appeared near the No. 1 bug star. Those spaceships were very large, and it was estimated that they were at least larger than the battleships with a diameter of more than 3,000 meters. These huge monsters seem to be approaching the orbit of insect planet No. 1. It is speculated that they are preparing to send out landing ships as vanguards. Chapter 393 The Arrival of the Starship Troopers. At this time, the picture continued. The Red Queen was omnipresent in the Empire's fleet. She appeared on the screen and said, "After deciphering the other party's radio waves, we learned that the other party is from a human force called the Federation." Lin Chen looked at the spaceship on the screen and asked, "Have you deciphered the specific content?" The Red Queen said, "It has been deciphered. According to the frequency of the radio waves, it was the insect planet that pushed the meteorite to hit the planet of the Human Federation, and the Human Federation discovered that there were kyber crystals on the insect planet, so they came not only for event but also for invasion. This fleet is called the Starship Troops and is preparing to send 6 mobile infantry regiments of 60,000 people." Lin Chen nodded. The Iraq bugs are not simple creatures. They have intelligent brain bugs controlling everything behind the scenes. They are also a race with extreme expansion. This can be seen from the fact that they occupy the entire galaxy, pushing the insect meteorites with spores to achieve the purpose of expansion. Later, Lin Chen stopped talking and asked the Red Queen to mobilize the detectors hidden in the insect galaxy one by one, preparing to secretly monitor the fleet called the Starship Troopers. Through the screen, we can see that after the galaxy fleet entered the orbit of the No. 1 insect planet, they deployed a large number of landing ships, and then they also suffered long-range attacks from giant plasma insects. Obviously, this Human Federation made the same mistake as the British Union, underestimating the Iraq insects. When the No. 1 insect planet launched plasma like blue flames, dozens of spaceships of the Galaxy Station team immediately became chaotic. Some pilots with good driving skills frequently avoided these plasmas, which were barely considered safe, but those with poor driving skills were directly split in half by the plasma, resulting in the death of a large number of people. Even so, they still sent a large number of square landing ships that look like iron boxes into the insect planet. After a while, after all the landing ships were launched, the spaceships of the Galaxy Troops hurriedly moved away from the orbit of the No. 1 insect planet. Lin Chen saw everything that happened. When he saw that the Starship Troops spacecraft had left the orbit of the No. 1 insect planet, he asked the Red Queen to retrieve the probe that had been launched on the No. 1 insect planet to facilitate watching everything that happened on the No. 1 insect planet. Soon, after calculating and determining the location of the 6 mobile infantry regiments sent by the Federation, the probes in the nearby area immediately rushed towards the 6 mobile infantry regiments. Squeak! The probe far away on the No. 1 insect planet broke out of the accumulated sand and began to move towards the direction of the mobile infantry regiment of the Starship Troopers. This palm-sized metal box is a probe of the Wangxian Empire. Its good performance can detect and feedback in any harsh environment. In order to enable that probe to be transported well, an energy battery is implanted inside the probe, and the bottom and top are equipped with short-distance flight and movement functions. This probe is the closest probe to the mobile infantry regiment, and the probes of the other 2 fleets in different directions also began to move. The 3 fleets' goals at this time were surprisingly consistent, secretly monitoring the every move of the Starship Troopers. At this moment, the 6 mobile infantry regiments sent by the Starship Troops are fighting fiercely with the bugs on this planet. Although they had previously sent out starships to bombard the Iraq bugs on a large scale, the number of Iraq bugs on this planet was much greater than that of the humans on the Federation, to a terrifying number. Therefore, after the bombing, the 6 mobile infantry regiments were attacked by Iraq bugs shortly after they landed on the landing ships. Da-da-da-2, the sounds of gunfire rose and fell. Unlike the humans on the Azure Star, the weapons held by the humans from the Federation were obviously inferior to those on the Azure Star. They clearly had the ability to travel through the stars, but their weapons were still in the era of thermal weapons, and there were no energy weapons. Perhaps this was the difference between the imperialism of the Azure Star and that pacifism of the Federation. Imperialism was more aggressive and believed that all non-human races were evil. Federalism was more peaceful and adhered to the principle of coexistence of all things. There was no right or wrong between the two doctrines, but only different concepts. The former focused on military power, while the latter focused on people's livelihood. However, the Federation world, like the Azure planet, had a technology tree that was off kilter. Perhaps that was why the Federation rushed in without investigating the characteristics of the insect planet. But it was also because of the Federation that, in the absence of competition, insufficient military strength had become a shortcoming. The 6 mobile infantry regiments did not have energy weapons, and they were clearly superior in number to the Iraq insects they were facing, but they were losing ground. Suddenly, 2 tank beetles emerged from underground. Each tank beetle had a body of 10 meters, and its black shell looked like a huge dung beetle. Compared to it, humans were simply too small. Strictly speaking, the tank beetle was already a giant beast, and its deterrent power and destructive power were definitely several times that of the Iraq tactics. As soon as these 2 behemoths appeared, dozens of mobile infantrymen were the first to suffer, and were crushed into red meat paste by the tank beetles. An infantry commander yelled, "Fire!" Two guns and cannons spewed out flames, but the exoskeleton of the tank beetle allowed them to resist most conventional bullets, so most guns and cannons did not have much killing power on them, and they needed to be worn down bit by bit. The tank beetle also launched an attack. The 2 tentacles on its head seemed to flash with lightning, and then a piece of orange sticky juice spurted out of its bloody mouth and attacked the tiny creatures in its eyes. A soldier's arm was splashed with the juice, and his face immediately turned pale, and a bean-sized cold sweat rolled down his forehead, followed by a heart-wrenching scream. Ah! A closer look showed that the whole arm was melted off. This orange sticky juice is corrosive acid. There are more unfortunate soldiers who were directly melted into blood, without even a bone left. Under such an attack, a large number of soldiers lost their combat effectiveness, and a large number of soldiers died tragically. What's more fatal is that the war beetles also began to kill more brutally under the cover of these tank beetles. The battle was still going on. However, in just a short while, the 6 mobile infantry regiments, totaling 60,000 people, had been decimated. An infantry commander analyzed, "Why do I feel like I'm being plotted against?" What was happening was too absurd. The high-ranking humans could not defeat the big bugs, and the big bugs seemed to have intelligence that was not inferior to that of humans. At the beginning, under the bombing of the starship, countless war bugs were blown to pieces. However, when the mobile infantry regiment just arrived on the ground to clear out the remaining bugs to provide support for the subsequent search for super substances, the bugs suddenly came from all directions again. Another infantry commander also said on the communicator, "I have the same feeling, it seems like we've been set up. Retreat first, retreat to a safe place and then build a defense line. There are too many bugs here." After the discussion, the original 60,000 mobile infantry regiment had been reduced to less than 50,000 after fighting for a while. Once the order was issued, the mobile infantry regiment immediately fought and retreated. However, they wanted to retreat, but the Iraqi insects would not let them go so easily. Chapter 394 The Invisible Hand. This retreat seemed more like running for life. If they ran a little slower, they would be bitten in half or even several halves by the war bugs, the main combat unit of the Iraqi bugs. Soldiers died every second, and miserable cries of and help kept rising and falling. But there was no way. Facing such powerful Iraqi bugs, the mobile infantry regiment sent by the Federation made a big mistake from the beginning and fell into the trap of the bugs. Yes, it was a trap. The existence behind the Iraqi bugs seemed to be able to sense or peek at what was happening outside the planet, so they took advantage of the fate of the Iraqi bugs being bombed and hit most of the Iraqi bugs, waiting to give humans a fatal blow. At this moment, the mobile infantry regiment, which was less than 50,000 people, fled all the way. Finally, after climbing over a slope, the Iraqi bugs stopped chasing and stopped one after another, as if there was something in front of them that frightened them. The 6 mobile infantry regiments of the Federation breathed a sigh of relief when they saw that the Iraqi bugs were no longer chasing them, but they froze immediately afterwards, all shocked by the scene in front of them. After crossing the Earth slope, there is an endless plain. It is still a withered and yellow world, but it has a few more colors. Someone exclaimed, "What is that?" They fled all the way to the place where the joint army led by the British Union had eliminated the bugs. But they didn't know it. At this moment, the scene in front of them was shocking and messy. There were bug corpses that were blown to pieces everywhere. It was so dense that it was difficult to see the end at a glance. It was hard to imagine what happened not far ahead. Perhaps it was because of this that the Arachi-bugs felt fear instinctively. An infantry commander gave an order. Everyone check the scene to see if there is anything. Shocked. There must have been a large-scale explosion here before. Bugs can make gunpowder. Obviously impossible. There are signs of large-scale bombing here, which means that other creatures have come here before. And it was definitely not done by the Federation. The Federation had been to the insect planet before, but it was just an exploration ship. After investigating the large number of insects in this galaxy, it was suspected that there were high-level energy substances, so it immediately returned and did not launch any attack on this planet. Judging from the situation of the scene, there was obviously a battle here. Must there have been a civilization here before? The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became solemn. Because everyone knows that the insect planet has energy substances that make technological civilizations jealous, and the Federation came here just because of energy substances. But now, a brand new civilization appeared on the insect planet, but where is that civilization? Did it leave, or did it not leave, secretly observing everything, waiting for the right time to take advantage of the fire? Soon, tens of thousands of mobile infantry began to check the scene to see if there was any useful information. Soon, they found a lot of useful information one after another. Report, some shells were found here. A new weapon was found here, which seems to be an energy weapon in theory. Here is a set of armor made of gold. Drag tracers were found here. As the soldiers discovered more and more, the leaders of several mobile infantry units became more and more shocked. There was indeed a civilization that came here before, and judging from the items left by the other party, it was more advanced than the Federation. At least energy weapons are still only in theory in the Federation, but this unknown civilization has begun to popularize them. As for the armor made of gold, it is difficult to understand. At this time, another soldier exclaimed, "Sir, look here quickly, there is a human corpse here." What? Everyone was shocked. Human? There is only one possibility. In addition to insects, if the corpses of other creatures are found in this area, they must be creatures of that unknown civilization. But how could they have thought that the unknown civilization was actually human civilization? Unbelievable. Several of the highest officers were the leaders of the 6 mobile infantry units. They immediately set off and walked quickly towards the exclaiming soldiers. At a glance, the 6 frowned. There was indeed a human corpse lying on the ground. At a glance, there was no difference in the structure of the human beings of the Federation, but the other party could not be a member of the Federation, because this was the first time the Federation landed, and the other party's clothes were not the Federation's clothes. The soldier said, "Sir, take a look here." As he said, he pulled the head of the corpse with both hands, and saw a big hole on the top of the head of the corpse. Ugh fuck. The bloody scene rushed into their eyes, and the 6 infantry commanders were suddenly shocked. After a long time, they finally reacted, resisting the urge to vomit in their hearts, and carefully looked at the top of the head of the corpse. The brain seemed to be sucked dry. As we all know, human memories are stored in their brains. Even if this corpse was from another civilization before his death, he was still a human like the Federation, but he was not eaten by insects, but his brain was sucked dry by some kind of insects. Coincidentally, the commanders of several mobile infantry regiments felt a little creepy. They have always regarded the Arachi-bugs as inferior creatures, but now it seems that they are totally wrong. There must be an intelligent bug behind these bugs controlling everything, and they use brain sucking to obtain intelligence. These bugs should want to find the weakness of humans. A captain turned pale and whispered to himself, "It's terrible." If it is true as speculated that the bugs suck brains to obtain human intelligence, then the advantages of humans will be greatly reduced in the future. What's more, there is a more advanced civilization, perhaps it has left, or it may be lurking in the dark, ready to appear at the right time. At this time, the detectors mobilized by the 3 fleets of Wang Xin, Jian Meng, and Neverset Sunday arrived one after another. 3 palm-sized detectors were hidden in 3 directions, monitoring the mobile infantry regiment of the Federation. A captain said suspiciously, "Strange, I just saw something moving." This seemed to confirm the resonance in the hearts of others, and they immediately expressed their feelings. "I always feel like someone is watching us from behind. Just now I saw something as big as a palm flash by, I don't know if it was my eyes or not." The more they talked, the more they felt something was wrong. If only one person had this feeling, it would be fine, it could be said to be suspicious, but so many people all felt that things didn't seem that simple. Everyone felt a little scared. It felt like there was an invisible big hand pushing everything in the place they saw. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 395. Caught the Brainworm. Unknown, scary, and thrilling. This is the atmosphere of the mobile forces under the Starship Troops at this time. After a series of encounters, they don't want to stay on the insect star any longer. The whole planet is full of big insects, and there is also an unknown civilization in the dark. Intuition tells them that the unknown human civilization has not left, but has been secretly paying attention to everything in this galaxy. In the end, after a brief consultation, several mobile infantry leaders jointly sent a request to the Starship Troops to return to the starship and explained the situation here. The Federation's Interstellar Marshal Vass was furious. What is this? A high-level human civilization is suspected to be secretly paying attention to everything. Why don't those cannon fodder groups die? A group of cowards. Because of cowardice, they even use such absurd rhetoric. He almost suppressed his anger and said, I understand your feelings now. After all, the survival rate of this mission is very low. The bugs set a trap for us, right? This is the confirmation that the bugs have intelligence, right? Now we believe that there are brainworms on Bug Planet. No. 1. You still know to send us here as cannon fodder? The Star Marshal said, if there is no confirmation, we can't carry out subsequent operations. Now I order you to stay where you are and wait for the support troops to capture the brainworms and provide security for the subsequent plunder of Kyber crystals. Hearing that the Star Marshal issued another order in the communicator, several infantry commanders immediately panicked. Anything that happens in this galaxy may be under the attention of an advanced human civilization. At this time, they don't want to leave this bug galaxy quickly, but are still thinking about plundering Kyber crystals. A captain said, Sir, I suggest that all action should be terminated, because we have found evidence of an advanced civilization on the insect planet. A bunch of cowards. What advanced civilization? Isn't the Federation civilization advanced? Our Starship Troops has the most powerful starships. After the Interstellar Marshal Vass ordered the communicator, he directly turned off the communicator without giving any extra explanations to those cannon fodder captains. The Starship Troops once again increased their troops by 60,000. A total of 12 mobile infantry regiments were deployed on a planet. They had sufficient confidence to capture the mysterious brainworm. Only the first few mobile infantry regiments that landed on the No. 1 insect planet had solemn expressions. However, they could not stop anything. They could only complete the mission as soon as possible to avoid more trouble. As long as the brainworm was captured, the remaining task of finding the whereabouts of the Kyber crystal was not their task. Later, the Starship Troops used their sufficient air superiority to carry out a large-scale bombing of the bugs on this planet. Until one day, the mobile infantry regiments found many nests suspected to be erect bugs. This is definitely a major news. All of a sudden, all the ground forces on the No. 1 insect planet rushed in from all directions, carrying the most advanced weapons. The cave was very large and connected in all directions. There were nearly 10,000 soldiers who kept coming. After entering the cave, it did not seem crowded at all. Instead, the further in, the larger the space inside. Suddenly, a soldier shouted, "Be careful!" and fired the automatic rifle in his hand. The soldiers also fired in the same direction. In a very short time, in front of the sufficient firepower, a war insect hiding in the dark was beaten to pieces. An infantry commander speculated, it seems that this is the nest of the Arachi insect. Another commander also said, we are currently going down, and the possibility of a nest is very high. Quick battle, don't waste too much time, otherwise once the Arachi insect returns to the nest, it will be over. The speed of the combat unit of about 10,000 people was obviously much faster. Even so, they still took turns to cover. After a long time, as they went 50 meters underground in the cave, they also saw human corpses here. These corpses all had one characteristic, their brains were sucked dry. It seems we have come to the right place. The soldiers were excited. Their fighting spirit began to rise. As long as they caught the brainworm, the target of the mission, this mission would be over. Finally, they turned the corner and entered the most spacious cave, which was almost as big as a basketball court. Suddenly, everyone standing there was shocked by the scene in front of them. What caught their eyes was a group of warbugs guarding a new species of bugs. Everything that happened in front of them expressed that things were not as simple as imagined. In all likelihood, the newly discovered bug species should be the brainworm, the target of the mobile infantry mission. This new bug species looked like a slug or the huge belly sack of an ant queen from a distance, but its actual size was much larger. Because the entire body was occupied by a huge head, it looked very bloated and ridiculous to the point of disgusting. Oh my god, what a disgusting bug. It seems that this stinky thing must be the brainworm we're looking for. Hurry up and capture it, so that our mission is over. The soldiers communicated from time to time during the stalemate with the bugs. Thanks to the raid plan, they were able to enter Archie's nest smoothly and surprisingly hit the dragon's head. A regiment leader said, "Kill all the war bugs and capture the brainworm." At this time, the war bugs also launched an attack, and seemed to rush towards the excited infantry frantically to protect the brainworm. Da-2. After a burst of dense gunfire, the nest was filled with gunpowder smoke, and all the bugs in the nest except the brainworm were beaten to pieces. The brainworm seemed to feel fear and was slowly retreating. However, its moving speed was really not satisfactory. Because of its overdeveloped brain, its head occupied half of the worm body, and other organs were seriously weakened. A regiment leader of a mobile infantry regiment said, "Contact the spacecraft and say that the brainworm has been successfully captured. Take this ugly worm out with a net." The soldiers immediately used a large net to catch the brainworm and dragged it out of the nest. Many soldiers along the way came forward to watch curiously. The leaders of several mobile infantry regiments did not leave. They whispered and called out, "Bring a few dozen people to continue exploring deeper to find the whereabouts of Kyber crystals." Finding Kyber crystals is also one of the tasks. Obviously, there are Kyber crystals on the insect planet, but the aerial photography of the spacecraft did not find any Kyber crystals. In addition, the insects on this planet do not seem to need to eat to provide energy, so the scientists of the Federation unanimously believe that Kyber crystals should be closely related to the Arachne insects. In other words, the Arachne insects do not need to eat to replenish their body energy, but absorb the energy of Kyber crystals. So since there are brainworms in this nest, there must be Kyber crystals. Soon, the leaders of several mobile infantry regiments led dozens of soldiers to the depths of the nest. They did not encounter any insects along the way. It was unexpectedly smooth, so many soldiers felt that there might be some conspiracy, such as the tricks of the Arachne insects. It was not until they had been circling the Arachne insect nest for a long time that they realized that this nest was truly a masterpiece of nature. Not only was it interconnected, it was even more vast than the underground palace. Chapter 396. Found the Kyber crystal. They kept searching around in such a grand underground project. If it weren't for the technological equipment, it would not be impossible to get lost in this nest. Even so, dozens of mobile infantrymen walked in the underground nest for nearly half an hour before they finally stopped. At this moment, when they went 100 meters underground, they were infected by a soft light. In the dark nest, dozens of mobile infantrymen stopped and looked forward, and they felt their bodies breathing rapidly. At the intersection of their sights, there was a pile of crystals, crystalline and blue, blooming with a soft light in the dark nest. If you look closely, you can find that there seems to be a transparent liquid flowing inside each crystal. The more you look, the more frightened you become. Everyone's breathing becomes more and more short, and their eyes flash with a scorching light. Oh my god, these crystals are so beautiful. These must be Kyber crystals. I didn't expect there would be so many. Ha ha ha, with these Kyber crystals, the Federation will be even stronger in the future. Oh my god, do these bugs have the habit of collecting treasures? No wonder, we can't find any no matter how hard we dig. It turns out that they were all collected by the Arachne bugs. They were swallowing their saliva. At present, it is basically certain that these crystals are the Kyber crystals that the Federation is looking for. Although these things are very expensive, they are limited to scientific research. For these soldiers, they are just some beautiful gems. However, even so, they are more precious than diamonds. At a glance, the entire underground nest is full of these crystals. Preliminary judgment is that it is at least several football fields in size. This is definitely the Arachne bug that piled up the Kyber crystals of the entire planet together, otherwise such a precious thing would never appear in so many at the same place at once. The leader of a mobile infantry regiment resisted the urge to take these treasures for himself, and immediately turned on the communicator to contact the starship troops in space, saying, "A large number of Kyber crystals have been found. In order to avoid being blocked by the worms, we request all-round support." When the starship troops heard that a large number of Kyber crystals had been found, they hurriedly confirmed it. After confirming that it was correct, they immediately deployed 6 mobile infantry regiments again, risking the risk of being attacked by plasma, and the spacecraft in space was ready to carry out a blanket bombing on the earthworms on the ground at any time, in order to ensure that all the Kyber crystals were transported to the spacecraft. Soon, a landing ship landed on the No. 1 insect star. Immediately, the hatch of the landing ship opened, and countless soldiers rushed out, building a simple defense line to prevent the earthworms from returning. It didn't take long for a single soldier to return. The earthworms returned, and a steady stream of worms came all over the mountains and plains. However, because the starship troops had been prepared, in order to study the brainworms and obtain all the Kyber crystals, they used a nearly life-threatening style of play. Landing ships were continuously deployed to transport mobile troops to the ground, and all anti-ground weapons were bombarded wildly, with micronuclear bombs flying everywhere, destroying wave after wave of insectides. Hit me hard. Ammunition, ammunition. Hit me hard. Grenade. The soldiers had sufficient firepower and were well equipped. But even so, when facing the endless Arak insects that could even be called the entire planet, the starship troops would inevitably be a little tired, and could only order the troops on the defense line to buy as much time as possible and use their superior firepower to stop the Arak insects. Some soldiers acted as porters, and a large number of Kyber crystals were loaded from the Arak insect nests into freight boxes and transported out of the ground to the landing ships. As time went on, the Kyber crystals in the Arak insect nests were finally emptied after a whole week. During this period, in order to buy enough time, the starship troops deployed a total of 500,000 mobile troops, and the ammunition consumed was difficult to estimate, and many spacecraft were destroyed by plasma. But it was all worth it. Because the value of Kyber crystal is inestimable, as long as we have Kyber crystal, the strength of the Federation will be further improved. Today, the sound of gunfire near the Araki insect nest is obviously much smaller. As the landing ships took off one after another, soon, there was no one on the ground except the endless Araki insects. All the living people were already on the landing ships that took off and went to space. Everyone was grateful for surviving the disaster, but there were only a few exceptions. They were the first excited infantry regiment leaders of the starship troops to enter the insect planet, and their faces were full of worried expressions. Obviously, they had taken off safely, and they would be able to return to the spaceship and return to the Federation in a short time, but for some reason, the uneasiness in their hearts became stronger. They have never forgotten that they felt like they were being monitored from time to time, as if everything that happened before was seen by the existence behind the scenes. Only after entering the landing ship did this feeling disappear. Several people gathered together in the landing ship, still in fear, and whispered to each other about their concerns about the No.1 insect planet, and were afraid of the human civilization that had never appeared. A commander of a mobile infantry regiment hesitated for a while and whispered, "Maybe we were too worried before." The others agreed tacitly. However, a commander who said nothing said, "To be honest, I have always been cautious, so I set up 4 hidden monitoring points without anyone knowing, and finally took a few bad pictures." The atmosphere of the few people suddenly changed. Bad pictures. The commander who said nothing took out the recorder he carried with him and gave it to them to watch. When everyone saw the recorder, they were suddenly shocked and exclaimed in a low voice, yes, someone is controlling that thing and has been following us. It seems that our every move is being watched by the human civilization." Everyone was shocked. A palm-sized metal box on the screen seemed to be a detector with a hidden effect. If they were really being followed, then it could be concluded that the human civilization had not left the bug planet, or had not left the bug galaxy immediately, but had been hiding in the dark. Suddenly, several infantry regiment leaders thought of a more terrifying thing. Why would that human civilization not leave? Why had it not appeared in the dark? The answer was obvious: their purpose of coming here was also for the Kyber crystal. Perhaps they were already extremely powerful, and had already sensed the Federation's intention to come to the bug planet, so they hid, and then chose to appear at the right time. You know, Kyber crystal is a super energy substance, something that any civilization would envy. And now, the Federation has packed up all the Kyber crystals on bug planet No.1 and taken them away, so wouldn't it be the time for the human civilization to show up soon? How could a civilization allow another civilization to take away what they wanted, even if the original owner of the thing was the Arachi bug? And now the Federation just did something that they found troublesome, helping them find that Kyber crystal and bring it out. The more they thought about it, the more terrifying it felt, and the more they analyzed the whole line clearly. Finally, a commander stood up and exclaimed, "Oh no, contact the Star Marshal. However, the Star Marshal still did not believe this absurd joke, but reprimanded several mobile infantry commanders who he considered to be suspicious and cowardly. In fact, several mobile infantry commanders attracted a round of sarcasm from their colleagues. However, everyone was wrong and regarded the facts as an unrealistic joke. There was nothing wrong with what the 6 commanders of the 1st Mobile Infantry Regiment that landed on the No. 1 Insect Star said. Because they guessed right. Chapter 397. Robbery. The detector has transmitted all the images of Bug Star No. 1. Lin Chen said, let's go. Since the other party, Gibber, had found the crystal and brought it on board, saving the fleet unnecessary trouble, then there is no need for the fleet to hide behind the scenes. After a while, the 3 fleets of Wang Xin, Jianming, and Neverset Sunday no longer hide, but appear openly. Nearly 300 warships of various sizes are densely packed in the universe, heading towards the Bug Galaxy together. The robbery has begun. The 3 fleets have the same goal. Want to run away with Kyber crystals. How is it possible? Nearly 300 warships and spaceships have entered the Bug Galaxy. Immediately, the Starship troops discovered the fleets of Wang Xin and others, and immediately entered a state of emergency, showing that a war was about to break out. They were horrified. They never expected to encounter a fleet of unknown origin in the Bug Galaxy. What is the identity of the other party? People all recalled the words of the mobile infantry commanders, claiming that a more advanced civilization was hiding behind the scenes. Once the Kyber crystal was taken away, it would be time for the other party to appear. At first, people scoffed at this, but now it seems that something bad has really happened. The other party did not appear earlier or later, but appeared at this time, obviously with bad intentions. The Starship troops did not find any trace of the other party, and the other party was able to appear in the Bug Galaxy without anyone noticing, which shows that the other party is an extremely powerful civilization. Fight? Or not fight? This is the hesitant choice in everyone's mind at this moment, because the initiative is not in their hands at all. With the fleets led by the Wang Xin fleet, the Jianmeng fleet, and the Sun Never Sets alliance coming in a mighty manner, it undoubtedly added unprecedented pressure to the Starship troopers. The 2 sides were deadlocked for about half an hour. At this moment, Lin Chen said to Red Queen with a smile on his face, "Send a message to the other party, saying that they took away our Kyber crystal without permission. As we are all human beings, we don't want to be enemies with them, but they must leave the Kyber crystal. In addition, we will give you 2% of Kyber crystal as labor fee." A radio wave was sent to the Starship troopers. Immediately, it attracted endless anger from the Starship troopers, from the Star Marshal to the soldiers. The Starship troops paid a heavy price to obtain the Kyber crystal, but now a civilized fleet suddenly appeared and almost took away all the Kyber crystals. Absolutely impossible. Starship troops Star Marshal Vass said angrily. Send a radio wave to the other party, saying that the Kyber crystal was obtained at a heavy price by us, and we will never give it to anyone. The news soon spread to Wang Xin and other fleets. There was a burst of sneers. Perhaps the Starship troops did not understand the principle of innocent people and guilty of possessing treasures. Let's move. With the order, nearly 300 spaceships of different sizes surrounded the Starship troopers, and there was a trend that if the other party did not hand over the Kyber crystal, a space war would be launched. Star Marshal Vaz was extremely angry. This was the behavior of naked robbery. It was obvious that the Starship troops had spent a great price to exchange for the Kyber crystal, but the other party came to rob it. An adjutant asked, "Marshal, what should we do?" Star Marshal Vaz angrily shouted, "Send radio waves to the other party, saying that if the other party wants the Kyber crystal, we can give them a part, but if they are going to forcibly rob all of it, our Starship troops are not vegetarians." The news came out. General Bit and others were all sneering. Perhaps the Starship troops have not yet realized their own status and situation. Now, let's not talk about anything else. Just turn on the battle system, and the entire Starship troops will definitely be destroyed in this vast starry sky within 10 minutes. Lin Chen sent the last radio wave patiently. It is better for you to avoid touching too many Kyber crystals. As human beings, this is for your own good. Otherwise, you will not be able to protect these super energy substances with your strength. If other creatures covered them, it will be a big trouble. Not all creatures are as kind as us. Many creatures in the universe will kill people while snatching super energy substances. At the time, your civilization may suffer a catastrophe. Everyone in the Starship troops was depressed and angry. No one else can describe plundering in such a refreshing and refined way. The coveting of other creatures is just alarmist. The one who really covets Kyber crystals is obviously another human civilization. The Star Marshal said angrily. Send a message. Kyber crystals will never be handed over to anyone for no reason. As soon as the news of the starship troops came out, Lin Chen knew that it was no longer enough to use soft tactics blindly, so he had to use hard tactics. Lin Chen looked at the starship troops at the other end of the starry sky and said directly, "Open the combat system." Under the powerful calculation of the artificial intelligence Red Queen, the ships of the Wang Xun fleet opened their hatches one by one, revealing a black gun barrel, and began to gather powerful energy at the muzzle. The combat system has been turned on, and the turbo laser cannon is being charged. The voice of the Red Queen sounded in the fleet. At this moment, the joint fleets brought by the Jianmeng fleet and the Sun Tribe Alliance also showed their fangs and displayed energy-type weapons. They were determined to get the Kyber crystals this time. Even if the other party was also human, it didn't seem to be very important in the face of interests. What's more, what Lin Chen said before was very reasonable. Agreeing to the Azure United Army composed of 3 fleets was the wisest choice, and it would also leave 2% of the Kyber crystals for the starship troops as labor fees. Otherwise, if these Kyber crystals were discovered by another biological civilization, it might not be as good as it is now. At this time, the interstellar Marshal Vass in the starship troops was still biting the bullet and maintaining his last stubbornness. If the Kyber crystal was taken away by the other party, he would definitely become a sinner of the Federation, and even the position of the Star Marshal would be replaced by someone else. Even the entire Galaxy fleet and even the entire Federation were unwilling to give up. After all, the super-energy material Kyber crystal that they had finally obtained was to be given to others. Absolutely not. But at this moment, especially when they saw the other party's spaceships all revealing their black gun barrels, Vaz and the starship troops couldn't help swallowing their saliva, and their scalps tingled. It seems that the other party is determined to get the Kyber crystal, and even start a war. An assistant asked, "Marshal, what should we do?" The spaceships of the starship troops are also waiting for the order of the Star Marshal. Now, as long as the Star Marshal gives an order, they will die with the Kyber crystal even if they die. Star Marshal Vaz said, "The other party dare not open fire on us. Under various factors, the other party will only intimidate us at most. Of course, we must also prepare for the worst and be ready to fight back at any time. In short, we can't give the other party the Kyber crystal." Assistant Zhu asked, "Really?" He felt that things were not that simple. Judging from the image processor, the other party was clearly preparing to use force. Marshal Vass said, "It seems possible. Maybe the other party will not fire at us." However, the slap in the face came unexpectedly. At this moment, the energy weapons of the 3 fleets including Wang Xun had already stored energy, and fired dozens of tractor beams directly at the starship troopers. Chapter 398 Pull out the Federation's Mecha and scare them to death. Seeing this, everyone in the starship troops immediately had a mentality of surrender. It was not that they did not have the courage to fight, but when the tractor beams firmly locked the spacecraft, they had no intention of continuing to be tough. Although they did not know what these beams were, everyone in the starship troops understood that behind these beams, there would be a storm-like attack. Seeing this, Interstellar Marshal Vaz, "Is it necessary to continue to be tough? The other party is obviously ready to take real action." The assistant asked, "Marshal, why don't we surrender?" Vaz angrily scolded, "Bullshit, we are not surrendering, but we are forced to hand over the Kyber crystal to the other party." Afterwards, the starship troops hurriedly sent a radio wave about compromise in the shortest time, indicating their attitude that they would definitely offer all the Kyber crystals. After receiving the message, Wang Xun and other fleets accepted the other party's request. However, it is possible that the weapon has been fully charged and reached the critical point for launch. Red Queen asked, "It has reached the critical point for launching. Should we launch?" Lin Chen said, "Change the launch target to Bug Planet No. 1. Since the other party had already surrendered, the 3 fleets did not need to launch another fire attack on the starship troopers. Instead, they set the target to Bug Planet No. 1. Turbo lasers fire. Energy cannons fire. Energy attacks were fired at Bug Planet No. 1. The shocking effect almost made the nearby star field extremely bright. Dozens of energy beams hit Bug Planet No. 1 inch a very short time at a speed that was difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. Even though it was extremely far away from Bug Planet No. 1 at this moment, it was still possible to see a very shocking scene happening on Bug Planet No. 1 through the atmosphere. It was difficult for people to describe the visual shock, but they only knew that it was an attack effect that could be called devastating. This immediately taught the Starship Troopers a lesson. They had previously planned to fight with the other party, thinking that the other party would be afraid that the Starship Troopers would counterattack with the belief that both sides would suffer losses. But now it seems that if the Starship Troopers, who have no energy shield, have just chosen to continue to be stubborn, they would most likely have been turned into cosmic garbage by the opponent's powerful firepower in less than 10 minutes. Fortunately, the Starship Troopers were too cowardly this time. At this moment, Star Marshal Vass said incoherently, "What a terrifying human civilization. If it weren't for his timidity just now, everything that happened on Bug Star No. 1 might be what the Starship Troopers are experiencing." After a long time, he said to himself with a complicated expression, "What the other party said is right. The Federation does not have enough strength to own so many Kyber crystals. Even human civilization is covered in them. If it were other civilizations, I'm afraid they would have prioritized attacking over communicating." Many people deeply agree with the Star Marshal's self-talk. At this moment, if the Starship Troops were not facing a human civilization, but some kind of biological civilization, I'm afraid the other party would have already killed them, and even the Federation would have suffered, instead of the current situation where the other party generously promised to leave 2% of Kyber crystals for the Federation. And here, seeing that the Starship Troops had chosen to compromise, Imsen and other fleets stopped threatening them. The two sides began to negotiate on the handover of the Kyber crystal. Several small spaceships flew into the command ship of the Starship Troops one after another. As soon as they got off the spaceship, the people at the Starship Troops were stunned, and they were deeply shocked by the humans of this civilization. Because the physical characteristics of both sides are almost the same. Unbelievable. After being stunned for a while, they introduced each other. Both sides had a brief understanding of each other. They all came from the planets where humans live, namely the Azure Star and their Federation Star. The Wangxin Fleet, the Jianweng Fleet, and the United Fleet of the British Sun Alliance, the three fleets were of the same blood at this moment because of the oath of the Azure United Army, almost like brothers, not to mention that at this moment, the three forces represented by the three fleets were almost for the common interests. Therefore, in negotiating the handover of the Kyber crystal, they showed a very high level of tacit understanding. Finally, although Marshal Vass was unwilling to hand over almost all of the Kyber crystals to the other party, he finally smiled and said, "Why not choose our Federation? It will be very convenient to hand over there, and there is also security." Representative Jianweng said, "Okay, no problem." The others nodded one after another, not afraid that the other party would cheat. Even on the other party's planet, as long as they showed any slight intention, their planet would be attacked by energy from all directions. Marshal Vass and others were immediately stunned. You know, the Federation is the home of the Starship Troopers. Are these humans on the Azure Star so powerful that they are fearless? Perhaps seeing through the other party's thoughts, Representative Imsen said, "Our strength has not yet been fully demonstrated. In the face of powerful military force, the Federation you mentioned is not a threat to us at all." Marshal Vass, annoyed. It's okay for the other party to be a robber, but he actually belittled the strength of the Federation in disguise. So angry. When we get to the Federation, we must show all our best strengths. Even if we are still not as strong as the other party, we cannot let the other party underestimate the Federation. Marshal Vass encouraged himself in this way. Because the humans of the Azure Star do not know what the Federation's strengths are. Only the high-ranking officials of the Federation know that the Federation does not only have spaceships such as the Starship Troopers, but also secret weapons, which of them Mechas that can be called the ultimate combat weapons. As long as those Mechas are displayed, they will be scared to death. Maybe we can use this as a bargaining chip to raise the issue of redistribution of Kyber crystals, such as increasing it from 2% to 5% or even more. After a while, the two sides officially discuss the ownership and handover of Kyber crystals. At present, all Kyber crystals are in the spaceships of the Starship Troopers. If the Kyber crystals are handed over in space, it is obviously very impractical. Secondly, handing over on the insect star is not possible, as they will be frequently harassed by insects. From a comprehensive perspective, the Federation is currently the most suitable place to hand over Kyber crystals. Now that everything has been settled, it is time to go to the Federation Star to distribute the Kyber crystals. After a long time, the three fleets and the Starship Troops officially set sail and headed for the Federation Star, led by the Starship Troopers. During this time, Star Marshal Vaz and the Starship troops did not think about using their speed advantage to get rid of the opponent, but no matter how they accelerated, it was useless, so they gave up this idea. However, although Star Marshal Vaz agreed to hand over the Kyber crystals to the other party under pressure, he was still very reluctant to give the Kyber crystals to humans on other planets. On his way back to the Federation, he contacted the Federation. "We have found the Kyber crystals and brought them all back, but there was a small mistake along the way." The Federation was pleasantly surprised and sent a message of encouragement. "Perfect, compared to the advanced supermatter of Kyber crystals, the small mistake seems too insignificant." Well, actually, the Star Marshal was embarrassed and had to explain the current situation with certainty, including everything he encountered on Bug Star No. 1, and also including being robbed by Azure Star and forcibly demanding Kyber crystals, and the Starship troops had to agree to the other party under pressure. Immediately afterwards, Star Marshal Vaz seemed to have thought of something, and repeatedly told the Federation not to do anything blindly arrogant, because Azure Star's spacecraft was very powerful, so powerful that it could launch a blanket attack on the Federation in space. Although the process was incredible, the Federation went from surprise to anger, and then to the final compromise, but since it had already happened, nothing could be changed. Finally, the Federation sent a message with full confidence. "No problem, our Federation currently has 7 Mechas, and they will all be unveiled at the Kyber Crystal handover ceremony in order to win more Kyber crystals." Chapter 399 Mysterious Confidence. An advanced human civilization is about to come to the Federation to distribute Kyber crystals. The top leaders of the Federation were shocked that there were other humans in the universe. They also firmly believed that as long as they showed their secret weapon chase at the time, they would be able to make the humans on other planets no longer underestimate the Federation. They would. Even if the Federation was not as strong as the other party, it could not be easily bullied. Never had confidence. They were full of confidence in the Mechas they secretly made. These Mechas were prepared to be used against the bugs, but now it seemed that their value would be shown in advance. The leader of the Federation was a very capable middle-aged woman named Omar. When she heard that the Interstellar Marshal Vaz proposed to show the Mechas when the Kyber crystals were handed over, she thought the idea was great and was extremely excited. The leader of the Federation, Omar, said, "Let's go to the secret base." Although the other party's robbing of Kyber crystals was very annoying, she also knew that it was a blessing in disguise. At least the other party could leave some Kyber crystals for the Federation. If it was replaced by other biological civilizations, I'm afraid they would directly use force. Therefore, when the time comes, the Mecha will be displayed in the name of cultural exchange, so that the humans of the Azure Star will be shocked by the Federation. Omar came to the secret base soon. This secret base is the core of the Federation. Most of the high-tech products come from here. Since the discovery of the insect star, new weapons have been secretly developed. Finally, the Mecha was born. In the most confidential warehouse inside the base, there are 7 steel giants, which are the secret Mechas of the Federation. All the Mechas use the highest technology of the Federation. They have a terrifying height of 9 meters. The body is made of titanium alloy and can effectively defend against most attacks. The arms are equipped with 2 Gatling guns that can tear apart all enemies. Of course, the Mecha has a more terrifying killer. The high coagulation napalm bomb will cause a sea of fire that stretches for 1 kilometer. Such a powerful Mecha is so cool. Omar understands that the Federation's spacecraft is not as good as the other side, but the Mecha, a unique product of the Federation, can definitely make the humans of the Azure Star feel the foundation of the Federation. Now everything is ready, except for the humans of the Azure Star. Omar stroked the cold body of the Mecha with his hands and exclaimed, "It's amazing. Although I haven't seen its power yet, I have already felt its terror. With such weapons, there is no need to worry about not being able to show the strength of the Federation." Omar, the supreme leader of the Federation, believes that as long as these ultimate combat weapons are displayed at the right time, the humans of the Azure Star will be shocked, and even scared to death. Suddenly, Omar's mind flashed with a brilliant idea. Show. The Mecha is a secret of the Federation, but the timing of its upcoming appearance is definitely the perfect time. It is exciting to show its strength in front of humans on other planets. What's more, it can also make the people's enthusiasm for the Federation rise to an unprecedented height. Wonderful. It's really wonderful. This matter must be made grand, and a cultural exchange between 2 stars will be broadcast live throughout the Federation. And here, in the vast starry sky, the galaxy troops are still leading the fleet of Wang Xin and others to the Federation. Interstellar Marshal Vass had no idea what the Federation was doing, but he knew that once he returned, he would be fired. Because no matter if he was wrong or not, since he was forced to hand over the Kyber crystal to the other party, he would be punished. This punishment was only for him to bear, but he did not regret what he had done at all. At least he did not create a strong enemy for the Federation. After a long time, they shuttled through the starry sky of Ahan and finally returned to the Federation. The Federation is a habitable planet, a vibrant green world, so that every time they come to this planet, Lin Chen and others always find an illusion of going home. Shuttling the universe seems to have developed to a very high level of civilization, but this behavior is absolutely lonely. Only the human world can let humans who are constantly shuttling in the universe put down the burden and loneliness in their hearts. As a legendary figure said, only the warmth of home can make me put down my ambitions. And this is the case with Lin Chen and others. Then, the dense fleet no longer spared the energy of the spacecraft, all entered the atmosphere, and came to the sky above the Federation. After all, it is necessary to hand over the Kyber crystal, and doing so is undoubtedly the fastest way. Today. It was the day when the top leaders of the Federation went out together. Everyone had an anxious expression on their face because they were going to contact the humans from another planet. A group of top leaders appeared at the shipyard of the Starship troops and looked at the sky. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in the sky, followed by a fleet that covered the sky of the sun. They knew that the humans from the Azure planet had arrived. Suddenly, some people's breathing became more rapid, and some people were quite nervous. As for the distribution of the Kyber crystal, it had been tacitly put aside by everyone. After all, the other party's fleet was powerful. Even if they wanted all of it, what could the Federation do? At least from the current point of view, the other party's heart should not be too bad. The supreme leader of the Federation, Omar, seemed to see what was on these people's minds. She stood in the most conspicuous position and said with a smile, "Don't worry, everyone. We're ready this time. We will broadcast light to all citizens of the Federation. This is a time for our Federation to show its strength in front of humans on other planets." Everyone suppressed their excitement. Someone asked, "But we were forced to give the Kyber crystals to the Azure Star." The supreme leader Omar said, "Don't worry, we are not under pressure. Just say that our Starship troops helped the humans of the Azure Star to transport the Kyber crystals. The 2% share is the labor fee we deserve." Everyone's eyes suddenly lit up. Great. Anyway, the people don't know the facts. They will believe whatever we say. Then, they were in a good mood. All their worries had been solved. The only thing left was to broadcast light to the world how the Federation showed its strength in front of the humans of the Azure Star. Everyone felt relieved and full of confidence. I seem to have seen the horrified expressions on the faces of the humans on the Azure Star when our Mechas are used. That's right, our Mechas are combat weapons. Maybe through communication, we can make the humans on the Azure Star jealous of our Mecha technology. Haha, although our spaceships are not as powerful as theirs, Mechas, the ultimate weapon, will surely crush them. I heard that the humans on the Azure Star are very wealthy and use gold to make armor. I wonder how they wear them and move around. They are just stupid and have a lot of money. After some self-hypnosis, everyone was full of confidence and showing their strength to the humans on the Azure Star. This was a mysterious confidence. At this moment, as they were discussing, the shadows in the sky grew larger and larger. The Supreme Leader said, "Quick, get the cameras ready and turn on the live broadcast." This time, the human communication between the two planets is enough to be recorded in the history books. However, when many spaceships slowly descended, these people swallowed their saliva together, and suddenly they felt extremely shocked in their hearts. The opponent's spaceship looks very sophisticated, and the huge hull is full of design sense. Looking back at the spaceships of the Starship Troopers, they are just like some scrap copper and iron, which makes people want to nauseate. Omar hurriedly scolded, "Cheer up, everyone. The opponent is only strong in spaceships. Although our Starship Troopers is not as good as the opponent, don't forget that we still have Mechas. Our Mechas are enough to shock the humans around the Blue Star." Yes, that's right. Everyone regained their confidence and their fighting spirit began to rise. Even their faces showed gradually unbridled smiles. Chapter 400. Federation Self-Congratulations, our Mecha is the strongest. After a long time, the fleet officially landed in the Federation. The area of the warships alone almost filled up the open space that the Federation had prepared long ago. The Federation also attached great importance to the arrival of humans from the Azure Star, and almost all the high-ranking officials of the Federation were present. Lin Chen and others walked out of their respective spacecrafts one after another. An important friendly conversation is indispensable. Although it was Wang Xin and other fleets that robbed the Starship Troopers, at this moment, the Federation showed great enthusiasm, as if there had been no unpleasantness before. Perhaps because this is an important moment in history, after all, it is rare to see humans from another planet in the vast universe. The Supreme Leader of the Federation, Omar, smiled and said, "Welcome human friends from the Azure Star." No one noticed that the corners of her mouth showed the meaning of the conspiracy about to succeed. Hello, hello. Lin Chen, General Bid, and Commander Ryan represented different camps, but at this moment they also showed a tacit understanding of advancing and retreating together. Because they all came from the Azure Star. After some courtesy, the leader of the Federation, Omar, smiled and said, "This cooperation is very pleasant." Lin Chen was stunned. On the contrary, General Bid smiled and said, "It's my duty. We can't ask you to help us with the Kyber crystal for free. The labor issue will be based on the 2% share we mentioned before." The cameramen around broadcast everything that happened live. At this moment, in order to demonstrate its strength, the Federation has started a global live broadcast, with 5 billion online viewers. Many people heard that humans from other planets were visiting today, and almost all of them stayed in front of the TV. The live broadcast was finally started, and the audience who were about to watch the live broadcast immediately went from an excited state to a state of extreme surprise. What's going on? Why don't I see any aliens? Are the ones with different clothes from us aliens? They don't look any different from us. I don't understand. Many people were stunned. They knew that the Starship troops went to fight the bugs, but they never thought that they would do business with aliens after going to fight the bugs. And they looked no different from us, and even their language was extremely similar. At this time, at the live broadcast site, Lin Chen and others were still talking. It was probably after the distribution problem was solved that the two sides began to formally hand over the Kyber crystal. In fact, the handover of Kyber crystal is very simple, which is loading and unloading and then weighing and distributing. During this period, the true appearance of Kyber crystal was completely exposed to everyone's attention. The Kyber crystal was exquisite, crystal clear, and crystal-like, and it emitted a soft blue light. Such a scene made everyone take a deep breath. Even though many people still don't know what the Kyber crystal is used for, its beautiful appearance is definitely more precious than diamonds. This Kyber crystal is the real one that will last forever. Then, the Kyber crystal began to be distributed. The high-ranking officials of the Federation were filled with envy and hatred. You know, these should have belonged to the Federation, but they were seized by the humans of the Azure Star. Unfortunately, the Federation had no solution at all. After a long time, many high-ranking officials of the Federation woke up, and they broke out in cold sweat the moment they woke up. They quickly put those unrealistic ideas behind them. At this time, the Supreme Leader of the Federation, Omar, smiled and said, "Since the Kyber crystals cannot be distributed in a short time, why not have a cultural exchange?" Okay. The following cultural exchange was nothing more than some insignificant issues, but as he was talking, the leader of the Federation, Omar, claimed that on this important day, he would also show the Federation's Mechas and let Lin Chen and others make some noble suggestions. After that, many senior officials of the Federation smiled, because the good show is about to begin. This scene was also broadcast live to the entire Federation, and the people were all excited. This is to show strength in front of the humans of the Azure Star. People showed strong expectations. At this moment, when Lin Chen and others heard that the other party was going to take out the Mecha, they subconsciously looked at each other. Mecha? There are Mechas on this planet. Several people immediately became interested. Speaking of the field of Mechas, on the Azure Star, Mechas are a variety of things. It can be said that they have been played to perfection, and there are all kinds of them. But Lin Chen, General Bit and others all made an unnecessary action in tacit understanding. Soon, 7 bright silver Mechas appeared from afar. They were about 9 meters tall, bloated, and had ribbons on their shoulders, as if they were here for today's display. With each movement, a dull sound came back from the ground. 7 federal Mechas slowly came from afar. A breeze blew, and the ribbons on the eyes of the Mechas fluttered in the wind, as if the warriors who returned from a triumph were ready to accept the admiration of the world. Cool and compelling. Soon, these 9-meter-tall Mechas came closer. As if to avoid unnecessary trouble, the drivers inside jumped out of the Mechas, stood in a row, saluted neatly and uniformly, and said, "The most powerful Mecha of the Federation has been displayed, please give instructions." Omar said, "Okay, that's enough. Let me introduce them to you. These people are human friends from the Azure Star. The 7 drivers faced Lin Chen and the others this time and said in a loud voice, "Please give us your valuable suggestions, human friends from the Azure Star." The show begins. This scene was broadcast live throughout the Federation. Countless citizens of the Federation clenched their fists excitedly. That was the posture of a hero, so cool. Wow, our Mecha is so handsome. Such a handsome Mecha is a man's dream. Women will only affect men from driving Mechas. The first page of the driving manual, no sisters in mind, driving a Mecha is a natural god. The citizens suddenly wanted to see what happened next more urgently. Because they seemed to have discovered that there seemed to be some changes on the faces of those human friends from the Blue Star. Although they tried their best to restrain themselves, they were still captured by many people. Suddenly, everyone was extremely excited. It feels great to think about showing strength in front of humans on other planets. People shouted excitedly. The Mechas of our Federation have shocked our human friends on the Blue Star. However, the change in their expressions that they caught was not because they were shocked, but because the Mecha was too eye-catching and they were embarrassed to show it. At the scene, General Bit resisted the urge to complain and said to himself, these 7 iron lumps are worthy at being called Mechas. I felt that my IQ had been seriously insulted. These pieces of broken copper and iron were not even as good as a terrorist killer. Lin Chen was okay. After realizing that the other party was not setting up a home and banquet, but simply displaying Mechas, he notified the combat units in the spacecraft to lift their combat readiness. Later, in order not to embarrass the other party and save face, Lin Chen and others had to praise them against their conscience. "You are too kind, too kind." Although Omar, the supreme leader of the Federation, was so polite, he was already very happy in his heart. Look, the humans of the Blue Star deeply felt that the Federation's Mechas were very powerful. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.